Well, good afternoon and welcome to today's council meeting. I welcome all those in attendance in the chambers. And
sorry, Mr. Mayor, something is happening here.
We will. Okay. We might just go with the volume down. Checking. All right, well, good afternoon and welcome to today's council meeting. I welcome all those in attendance in the chambers and those watching via live stream. This council meeting is being recorded whilst it's also being live streamed to YouTube. I remind the public gallery that the recording of this council meeting is not permitted under Council's Code of Meeting Practice unless prior approval has been obtained from the CEO. Anyone in the gallery caught recording any part of this meeting without consent may be asked to leave. The public gallery is also asked to refrain from interjecting whilst councillors or staff are speaking and to keep discussion to a minimum so as to allow councillors to conduct the business of council without interruption. As this recording will be available as a public record, those in attendance, including councillors, staff and members of the public gallery, must refrain from making any defamatory statements. Thank you. So item 1, acknowledgement of country. I acknowledge that we're gathered on Biripi land. I pay respect to the Biripi elders, both past and present. I also extend that respect to all other Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who may be present today. Moving to item 2, remote attendance at the meeting. Mr. Acting CEO, do we have any councillors requesting to attend the meeting remotely today?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, Councillor Shepherd has requested remote attendance today.
Thank you, Mr. Acting CEO. I'm happy to move that. Do I have a seconder to accept? Thank you, Councillor Interman. Anyone need to speak to that? No, I just move that Councillor Shepherd be permitted to attend the meeting remotely. All those in favour? None opposed. Declare that carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Item 3, local government prayer. Now it gives me great pleasure to welcome Captain Peter Gott from the Port Macquarie Salvation Army to deliver the local government prayer. Thank you, Captain.
Thank you for having me. Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you now with hearts of gratitude. Gratitude for this great land that we live on, this beautiful part of the country that we get to call home. And Lord, as we come to you now, our hearts go out to those that have been affected by floods, by those that are dealing with hardship in whatever way in their lives. And God, we pray right now that you would meet those needs, that you would surround them with people, and that you would build our community as one that works together for the better of our community. God, we pray for this council meeting now, Lord, and we ask that as a variety of things are discussed and this land and this area and its people are brought into responsibility of this council. Lord, we pray that you would give wisdom. Lord, you say that if we need wisdom, that you will ask, and if we ask, that you will give generously. And Lord, I pray today for this meeting that there would be a generosity of wisdom given from you, our Heavenly Father. And Lord, we thank you once again that for the privilege of the way we can live in this land, and we commit all of this to you in Jesus' mighty name. Amen.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Item 4, apologies. Mr. Acting CEO, do we have any apologies for today's meeting?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no, there are no apologies today.
Thank you. Moving along, item 5, confirmation of minutes, ordinary council meeting 15 May 2025. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Lipovac, seconded by Councillor Hornshaw. Anyone wishing to speak to this item? See and hear none. All those in favour?
Yes.
Thank you, Councillor Shepherd. All in favour, none opposed. Declare that carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Item 6, disclosures of interests. Councillors and staff, who would like to go first? Councillor Lipovac, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, for item 11.04, the draft integrated planning and reporting documents post-exhibition report. The details are that both Cruise FM and Radio 531 are mentioned in the operational plan of this agenda item as part of a wide range of media options recently used to run advertisements on behalf of council. Although I am an employee of this business, the campaign expenditure was relatively minor, totalling $660. So I intend on remaining in the meeting to participate and vote on the matter, as this perceived conflict will not influence my decision making. And item 13.14, Friends of Camden Head Lookout Pilot Station. The update, the reason being one of the committee members is John Bailey, who ran on my ticket at the September 2024 local government election. I intend on remaining in the meeting to participate and vote on the matter, as this perceived conflict will not influence my decision making. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Pivac. Next up, we have Councillor Maltman.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I declare a non-pecuniary less than significant interest in item 13.13, the Lake Caddo Natural Resource Management Monthly Update Report. I've taken all reasonable steps and rationale identifying no financial interest or financial benefit to declare a non-pecuniary less than significant interest in item 13.13, Lake Caddo Natural Resource Management Monthly Update Report. The reason being that I'm a non-financial life member and a former president of the community organisation Revive Lake Caddo Inc. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Maltman. And next up, Councillor Hornshaw.
Thanks. I'd like to declare a non-pecuniary less than significant interest in item 13.12, scoping proposal LEP housekeeping amendments 2025, because it includes provisions for rural land, and I'm the owner and reside on rural land. Noting that any future changes to the LEP provisions relating to rural land affect all rural landowners the same. I intend to remain in the meeting, participate and vote in the matter, as this perceived conflict will not influence my decision making in the matter. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Hornshaw. And next up, Councillor Tubman.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I declare a pecuniary interest in item 13.12, scoping proposal LEP housekeeping amendments 2020-25. The reason being is that I am in the process of purchasing rural zone land, and this item includes a proposed amendment to the LEP that relates to secondary dwellings in the rural zone. I intend to leave the meeting, be out of sight, and take no consideration of this item, and take no part in the consideration of this item.
Thank you, Councillor Tubman. Mr Acting CEO.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm declaring a pecuniary interest in item 12.01, Hastings River Flood Study Extension, for the reason that I own a property within the flood planning area, and flood modelling impacts on the property may vary pending the outcome of the exhibition and adoption of the study. I'll manage this conflict of interest by leaving the meeting, being out of sight and taking no part in the consideration of the item.
Thank you, Mr Acting CEO. Any further declarations? See and hear none. Thank you all. Moving along, item 7, Mayoral minutes. I'd like to move an item in relation to the May 2025 natural disaster flood event. The item being that Council 1 note its thanks, appreciation and contribution of the Port Macquarie Hastings Council staff who worked tirelessly for our community during the escalation management of the May 2025 natural disaster flood emergency and the recovery clean-up operations. 2, note its thanks, appreciation and contribution of the frontline emergency agency responders, in particular the New South Wales State Emergency Service, the Combat Agency for Flooding Events, and organisations who worked tirelessly during the May 2025 natural disaster flood event, and to those organisations represented at the Emergency Operations Centre, including the New South Wales Police Force, the New South Wales Ambulance Service, Fire and Rescue New South Wales, New South Wales Rural Fire Service, New South Wales State Emergency Service, New South Wales Marine Rescue, Surf Life Saving Mid-North Coast Branch, Transport for New South Wales Maritime, New South Wales Reconstruction Authority, Department of Communities and Justice, Mid-North Coast Health Local Health District, New South Wales Public Works, Essential Energy, Local Land Services, New South Wales Department of Primary Industries and Regional Development, Biripi Local Aboriginal Land Council, Telecommunications, Busways and the Resupply Planning Team, Kempsey Shire Council and Nambucca Valley Council. 3, note its thanks and appreciation to our local community for coming together in this latest natural disaster flood event to assist those in need during the emergency and the recovery clean-up. And 4, note its thanks to the New South Wales Government and the Australian Government for their immediate response in supporting, in declaring a natural disaster and the subsequent deployment of resources and community support during and after the May 2025 weather event. For the benefit of those who don't have the agenda, I'm going to read the comments that I've put into the business papers. During late May 2025, our local government area was inundated with another wet weather event that saw major flooding in parts of our region, which triggered a natural disaster declaration by the federal government. In the days leading up to the flood event, our local emergency operations centre was activated and headed up by the local emergency operations controller, Superintendent Shane Cribb, and the local emergency management officer, rotated by Council CEO Mr Robert Fish, and Council staff members Blaine West, Chris Favaloro and Cameron Hawkins. The EOC was manned 24 hours over many days, with key emergency services and other organisations representatives working 12-hour shifts until gradual wind down when the recovery mode was deployed. The efforts of the EOC assisted our community to be prepared, informed and safe during the emergency event and during the recovery transition. Thank you to everyone involved in the EOC. To our amazing emergency first responders and volunteers who worked tirelessly around the clock to provide assistance to those in the flood affected areas, what an amazing effort. Your dedication and commitment to assist those in need in times of emergency is appreciated by all in our community. To Council's amazing staff who worked in the EOC, to the crews on the ground, to our staff assisting with the immediate relief work and recovery phase establishment, to our staff who supported from the office, thank you on behalf of the elected body and the local community. Your tireless efforts, professionalism, empathy has not gone unnoticed. In recent years, our community has experienced impactful events such as the global financial crisis, drought, bushfires, floods, COVID, major storm events, and now another major flood. I must say that with each significant event, we learn from them and we improve on how we respond and deal with the immediate challenges and the aftermath through the recovery phase. Whether we want to be or not, us regional folk just find a way to work through the challenges and support each other along the way. It's incredibly difficult to do that some of the time, but we ultimately prevail in coming out the other side, maybe a little more hardened, but also thankful to live in such an amazing place on earth. So to the Port Macquarie Hastings community, thank you for once again coming together to work together in this latest natural disaster for our area. I am a firm believer in providing praise and thanks for a job well done. In that regard, I wish to thank the New South Wales Government and the Australian Government for their early natural disaster declaration during the event. This early declaration supported Council, frontline agencies and our community to immediately deploy resources to start the clean-up efforts, which helped the Port Macquarie Hastings community get back to as normal as possible, as quickly as possible, and with the resource funding support we need as a community to continue the clean-up and rebuild efforts with less impact to regular operations. Thank you. Does anyone else wish to speak on this item? Councillor Kirkman, thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and well said.
Thank you.
I would like to thank and acknowledge all the agencies led by Superintendent Shane Cribb and supported by our council staff who, during this natural disaster flood emergency, operated the Emergency Operations Centre. To the ground crews, those involved in immediate relief and recovery efforts, and those supporting from the office, thank you for your professionalism. Thanks to the Acting Chief Executive Officer, Robert Fish, for your regular and thorough updates of keeping us and the community all informed. To the emergency responders and volunteers, a heartfelt thank you to your incredible first responders and volunteers who work tirelessly around the clock to assist those affected by the floods. Your commitment and hard work are deeply appreciated by the entire community. During the floods and isolation, while living in King Creek, I witnessed the dedication of King Creek Rural Fire Service volunteers firsthand. They worked around the clock, manning the station 24/7, providing shelter, food and essential supplies to flood victims and supporters in need, those in need. To give you an example of their dedication and hard work, over the course of the 24-25 year, the King Creek RFS have put in 548 hours for maintenance, 1,347 hours for training, 320 hours for meetings, 1,035 hours for call-outs, 548 hours for community engagement and fundraising, and 135 hours for other bits and pieces. That's a total of almost 4,000 hours of volunteer hours. Thank you to each member of their hard work and dedication this past year. Recently, after the floods, I also spent some time with the Warhope SES volunteers. These 11 Warhope volunteers handled 128 registered incidents, 147 non-registered incidents, and volunteered 708 hours of their time over the 4 days of flooding. A huge effort by all. During and after these 2025 floods, I visited and met with 40 plus local businesses, owners, to discuss the impacts they have endured. The stories that resonated with me the most are the business owner who the week before these floods had just paid off his 2021 flood loan with the bank and now must start all over again. The restaurant owner who sealed up all their doors and windows with silicone, plastic and sandbags, and the water still came in knee deep through the power points on the wall. The Port Macquarie Hastings business community has exhibited an extraordinary display of resilience. I extend my profound gratitude for your unwavering cooperation and dedication in revitalising Port Macquarie and its surrounding areas for business with remarkable swiftness. Despite these adversities, our regional community continues to support one another and has emerged even more formidable. Your efforts have been an inspiration to the entire community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kirkman. Any further speakers? Councillor Intiman.
I echo and applaud all what's been said. Thank you. I echo and applaud all that's been said without repeating anything. Nevertheless, to also note what was said in the local government prayer about how grateful we should feel for living in a community, and I say Australia-wide, but also local, living in a place, especially when we are seeing what is going on elsewhere in the world, and we should never forget to respect that. And to those people who do cause disruption in the community, to which we will no doubt speak later, I ask them to open their hearts and realise how much they get from the efforts of everybody else. One special mention to the Roads Division within Council for their absolutely amazing response in getting roads repaired. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Intiman. Councillor Maltman.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank you for bringing this Mayoral Minute to Council and for your leadership throughout the recent disaster recovery. Having spoken to you daily during the flood crisis, I witnessed firsthand your hands-on approach to the disaster response, and I'd also like to acknowledge the leadership of Acting Director Robert Fish. You certainly made a great leadership team for our community, supported by council staff, our outstanding emergency services and countless volunteers, and response agencies were nothing short of exemplary. A clear and commendable improvement was evidenced in our region's response. The coordinated effort, communication and community focus was significantly enhanced, and I believe this played a major role in the positive feedback we've all been receiving from those impacted, again, last month. Responses like this from Jodie Salustio on the 5th of June echoes nearly every response I've received from impacted community members. If nothing else, the last 2 weeks has proved how beautiful people are. The Port Macquarie Hastings Council has been incredible with our rubbish, aka our possessions, furnishings, keepsakes, memorabilia, etc., collecting and cleaning up our streets. The SES and the RFS have been nothing but amazing. I've cried a river, but not just because of the loss and damage, but due to the realisation that these godsends did for all of us. And thank you so much, she said. You have made this nightmare a lot less stressful this time around. And following on from that were comments from people that they couldn't agree more. The support has been nothing but incredible. It's been a massive difference, and it's been noted. The isolation and separation has also been noted as well on the North Shore, where people, the coordinated response was felt firsthand. They were all very grateful and were very thankful for those who contributed. Mr Mayor, I'd like to express my full support of this mayoral minute, and like you, I acknowledge the scale and severity of this event. The response has not only demonstrated a coordinated and compassionate approach, but reaffirmed Council's commitment to practical community-first recovery, a commitment that was deeply felt and gratefully received across our region. My thanks again to all who led and supported this effort. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Moltmann. Councillor Lipovac.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I did have some words for what was going to be the next item, but it seems far more appropriate to discuss it now or mention the details now. Some might be a little bit repetitive from our previous speakers, so thank you very much. And again, the mayoral minute is greatly appreciated. So just briefly, thank you and well done to all the council staff who went above and beyond during the floods. It is what the community expects in these critical situations, and you have fulfilled your obligations under very difficult circumstances. You have my heartfelt gratitude. Your community thanks you. Your efforts were exceptional and have not gone unnoticed. The response from Council in conjunction with emergency services and government agencies to inform and provide regular updates and to establish the evacuation and recovery centres, in my opinion, was an improvement on the 2021 flood situation. But as mentioned by the Mayor earlier, there's always room to learn and improve further. The waiving of specific fees and charges is both appropriate and commendable for those residents severely impacted by the floods. I would also like to mention the outstanding work of the community to assist and support each other. Individuals, sporting groups, local organisations, including those working behind the scenes at St Agnes Catholic Parish, Port Hastings Homelessness Collective, the Salvation Army, St Thomas Anglican Church, Camden Haven Community at 3, the Warhope Showground, Adria Warhope, Port Panthers, Port PCYC, Port Indoor Stadium, just to mention a few. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Lipovac. Councillor Edwards.
Yes, and I can only say hear to what everybody has already said on this. Thank you for the mayoral minute. Mr Mayor, I'd like to touch on not just the thanks to the team effort that really has been displayed here in this event, but also to note that Port Macquarie Hastings Council wasn't quite finished with the recovery work from the 2021 floods. And so bearing in mind, thankfully, this event wasn't as devastating. We were very lucky that the high tide was, in fact, occurring the week after those floods. We would have been looking at something much, much worse had we been unlucky and had those coincided. And so I also want to just touch on briefly that I did hear Mr Mayor talking about building back smarter and chatting with ministers and trying to make sure that we're getting assistance, I think, to, rather than always be reactive, to be proactive. And I think that the motion that I'll be taking for our council to the National General Assembly, it's on the agenda for next week, which is seeking formula-based funding for councils for climate adaptation. That's exactly what that is. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about building back smarter. That's the kind of support that we need. And so I just want to reassure everybody, the community and councillors, that that is exactly what we're asking for. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Any further speakers?
I'll go.
Councillor Tubman.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Agreeing with what everyone else has stated, all the other councillors, I very much appreciate, the feedback to the community. It's been, everyone has worked very well together with the community council and all the local groups. But I would also like to point out, a couple of mentions about feedback that I got from some of the residents. So, hearing of, collections were too efficient is something good to hear, that, people are putting a request in for material to be picked up that, that they chucked out due to the flood, and then them, planning to put more on the pile and then realising the pile was gone when they've gone to throw more on there. So things like that are great to hear. It shows that council's really getting out there and being effective. Also noting the number of calls that the call centre received, comparing it to the month before. So during May, there was over 5,465 calls compared to 2,750 the month before. So there's a lot of time and effort spent on that, and the average call times are actually reduced as well. So It just shows that the staff were, working effectively and getting through that. And I'd also like to note as well how quickly staff was able to get out to the rural areas and get to a lot of the roads that were damaged as well. I remember not long after the event that up at Rollins Plains that the graders were there working on that area not long after the event. I believe that they were actually already up there, so that may have had something to do with it, but it was still good to see that was actively happening not long after the event had finished. So we'd like to thank everyone that was involved with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tubman. If there's no further speakers, I'll put that item. All those in favour?
Aye.
None opposed. Declare that carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Item 8, confidential correspondence to the ordinary council meeting. There is none, so we move straight to item 9. Items to be dealt with by exception. We have items. I'm happy to move. Take a seconder for the following items. Thank you, Councillor Interman. Items 10.02, 11.01, 11.02, 11.07, 11.10, 11.12, 11.13, 11.14, 11.15, 11.16, 13.02, 13.07, 13.09, 13.11 and 13.16 be considered in a block resolution. Any speakers on that?
Thank you for putting them in order.
Thank you. Mr Ferguson.
Sorry, Mr Mayor, I believe items 1303 and 1305 have also been asked to be put in the block as well.
Okay, so adding 1303, 1305. Councillor Interman, happy with that? Thank you. Anyone have any issues with 1303, 1305 going in? I see and hear no objections, so we'll take that as 1303 and 1305 included in that. We have a mover and a seconder. Is anyone wishing to speak to that? A question, Councillor Interman?
Through you to Councillor Edwards, did I hear that there was a problem?
That's okay. I thought 1305 was out, so I had some things to say, but that's okay. I can leave
talk
that.
to
I can
6.
leave off.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you. Okay, so without any speakers, I put that. All those in favour?
Aye.
None opposed. Declare that carried unanimously. Do I have a mover and a seconder to move that all recommendations listed in the block resolution be adopted by council? Move Councillor Interman, seconded by Councillor Edwards. Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
None opposed. Declare that carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Moving on, item 10.01, we have May 2025 flood event response, immediate relief and recovery review. I'm happy to move. Is there a seconder for that one? Councillor Interman, thank you. Yes. Question? Yes. Sure can.
Question through you to the acting CEO. I would just like to note in clause 1 the date when these measures started, and I believe it was the 24th of May. Just bearing in mind we're now resolving in June, I thought it would be helpful. So it would be clause 2. Note the provision or place where we can put in 24th of May regarding the management of note the provisions commencing 24th of May in clause 2. May, but not specifically.
I will just take some advice from the acting CEO on that.
Through you, Mr CEO, it is a bit of an awkward one to add in there, and that you have a number of, I guess, items that are referring to waiving of fees, but certainly that would be the intent from the commencement of the event itself, to bring these into effect. And the two particular ones that were advised earlier were in item 3 and 5, so you could potentially add the date to those two items if you wish to.
Even if it's only one, so waive all waste disposal fees.
You could add
maybe commence 3 could start commencing 24 May
until 30 June. Yep.
Until 30 June.
I'm happy to take that in.
Thank you. So clause 3. (24 May). (30 June). If we can just change the 24. No. Back commencing 24th May. Thank you.
There we go.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll just wait for that to be set. Okay, so we've got that adjustment done. I'm happy to speak to this one just briefly, but then I'm going to just ask the acting CEO just to make a comment as well off the back of that. Obviously, we've acted as quickly as we could as councillors. I appreciate councillors taking some decisions the right way out of session in writing to help facilitate a swift response on behalf of our community. So doing that, it is very much appreciated, but also to recognise the efforts here of the leadership of the acting CEO to move as quickly as possible to make sure there's a seamless recovery aspect to some of the damaged parts, but also keeping in mind that when these events occur, it's incredibly important to make sure that we do things as quickly and as efficiently as we can, noting full well that there's going to be some economic hardship off the back of these things. So I just wanted to flag that we did make some decisions outside of session, which we are now ratifying, obviously, but also ask the acting CEO just to maybe explain this particular item. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This report, I guess, is intended to provide a record or an overview of the event response, the immediate relief, and also the recovery from a council perspective. So it does certainly focus on our own services, but does acknowledge the inputs of the various emergency services that were involved in the event and that were obviously acknowledged through the Mayoral Minute. So it provides a good, I guess, snapshot of the event over the past month, and specifically calls out the fee waivers that are proposed in the recommendation in support of our community, obviously in their ongoing recovery to the impacts of the event, which have been quite significant for portions of our community. We did, as we've mentioned, as communicated with you, we did put some of those measures in place immediately, being obviously the ferry and waste waivers, and I do appreciate your quick response to those so that we could bring those into effect with immediate effect during the course of the event, and that was greatly appreciated from the community, certainly from the feedback and sentiment that has been received. I did just want to take the opportunity as well, probably off the back of the Mayoral Minute, just to obviously thank you all for your positive comments and sentiment in relation to the organisation's response. And I did just want to mention that the executive team have taken the opportunity to get out to each of our work locations over the past week to thank all involved for the work that was done, and very well. I did just want to call out specifically Acting Director West in terms of her role through this event. So Blaine filled the LEMO, or the Local Emergency Management Officer role, through the course of the event and had limited exposure to it, obviously prior. And it's not an easy role to do in the event of an emergency. You do learn on the job well and truly, and a lot happens very quickly in that role and in an emergency operations centre. So there's a lot of competing pressures, some difficult decisions to be a part of, and it certainly requires a level-headed and composed approach. And you need to be one step ahead all the time, otherwise the questions come up and you may not have the answer. So you do need to be a step ahead, whether it be through the operational response or once you move into the immediate relief or recovery stage. So certainly a credit to Blaine in her performing that role and through the course of the emergency, and also to the broader team that was around her. There's long hours involved in this role, and it's a significant commitment that very much impacts your personal life and over an extended period. So certainly thanks very much to Blaine for performing that role through the period. It was greatly appreciated. I would also like to just acknowledge yourself, Mr Mayor. In times of disaster, communities certainly look to their leaders, and on behalf of the organisation, certainly the efforts, support of the community and the advocacy of the region certainly has been tireless through that period. And your support of our broader communications and your calm and measured approach was greatly appreciated by the staff body. And it also was a significant personal commitment from yourself as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you. That was a surprise, thank you. Appreciate that. Councillor Interman.
Just briefly, again, we all agree, appreciate and applaud everybody and their commitment for this. So I won't go over that, just to reinforce that. And just to say, I made that change regarding the date, or asked for that change to be in there regarding the date, because the minutes to me can be an informing instrument, and which means if we've got things in there like that, somebody coming back later doesn't actually have to go back and find where it was. So thank you for making that change, and we all appreciate everybody's commitment community-wide. We couldn't do it without each other, so thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Interman. Any further speakers? See and hear none. I put the item. All those in favour?
Aye.
None opposed. Declare that carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. All right, so I think we're down to 11.03, investments and loans, May 2025. Anyone have a motion to move, or the staff recommendation? Do I have a mover? Councillor Interman, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Tubman, thank you. Any speakers? Councillor Interman? Thank you. Reserved. Councillor Lipovac.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So a question through you and through the Acting CEO to Director Henschke on this occasion. If I can first give you a bit of context before I ask the question. It has been noted at the last two public forums, concerns have been specifically raised about $55 million in loans the Council has planned as we move forward into the new financial year and for the years ahead. It was indicated at those forums that part of that figure includes $8 million for the construction of the Mayoral River Road and $36 million for a wastewater plant. I'm sure most would agree and consider these are both important projects. However, the two-part question is to Director Henschke. Is this information, or are these figures correct? And is Council in a solid financial position to take on these loans?
Thank you. I'll put that to the Acting CEO. Thank you.
Through you, Mr Mayor, Director Henschke.
Thank you.
Through the Acting CEO, I thank you, Councillor Lipovac, for your question and the advance notice, which has allowed me to prepare a statement which I will read to, in part, address the concerns raised at the public forum, but also the implication that excessive borrowings could lead to significant financial stress for Council. So I'll just read the statement as is. As part of our long-term financial planning, Council is entering a period of projected significant borrowing to fund major infrastructure projects, particularly in the water and sewer funds, but also in the general fund for the completion of Ocean Drive and for other major road and bridge infrastructure projects. I would note that a key part of our more disciplined approach in developing our long-term financial plan over the next 10 years is that the long-term financial plan only includes those projects that Council can afford, i.e. those projects that are able to be funded from reserves, confirmed grants, revenues or borrowings or a combination thereof. The projected level of borrowings in the long-term financial plan are contained within staff recommended limits, which are guided by the relevant Office of Local Government benchmarks and the ability of the respective funds to be able to service the debt, that is, pay the principal and interest from revenues collected. For more information on this, I'll draw your attention to the forecast borrowings and borrowing capacity graph, which is in report agenda item 1106, which shows the projected borrowings by fund and the impact on the Office of Local Government benchmarks over the 10 years are also depicted in that report. And also for reference, the projected borrowings by project for the next 4 years is detailed in the revenue policy, the statement of borrowings section, which is an attachment to agenda item 1106. The level of projected borrowings is likely to extend council close to a staff estimated internal debt ceiling in the coming years, determined by council's ability to service those borrowings and remain within and compliant with the Office of Local Government benchmarks. As council enters a high debt phase, it will require careful monitoring of consolidated financial projections, cash forecasting, and project budgets and forecasts. Strategic management of capital works in terms of managing the timing of delivery of priority projects whilst maintaining key infrastructure and services. An increased reporting, visibility and transparency of the program of works and keeping community engaged through the process regarding priorities and future plans. The council currently has strong liquidity and a plan to manage debt servicing and return to more sustainable operating position by the early 2030s after the delivery of these key projects that require significant borrowings. So what are some of the risks to these current projections? The projections are based upon current estimated budgets for key projects that will source borrowings. Any project budget overruns will create risk, so ongoing in-depth financial modelling and forecasting within these projects will be crucial. The timing of when borrowings are required to be drawn down can impact financial modelling and the timing of servicing and debt and the impact cash flow forecasting. The ability to obtain approval for the projected loans required will depend on lenders assessing our financial position and forecast as part of the loan approval process. The forecast and long-term financial plan budget includes many underlying assumptions, including those around the level of inflation and interest rates, so any significant movement in these assumptions could impact project costings and the cost of borrowings. It is also important to note that a potential offset to these risks would be if the projects that require borrowings can achieve future grant funding to replace the need for borrowings. So ongoing advocacy to other levels of government for funding remains important. I next just wanted to address some of the specific concerns mentioned by Councillor Lipovac that were brought up at the public forum. It was noted there was a forecast of 55 million in loans for 25-26. I would note that this references the draft budget put on exhibition in April. The final draft budget that's presented to Council today shows a revised 28.6 million in borrowings for 25-26. This is following mostly a revision of the timing of when the Carrara water treatment plant project budget would need to access borrowings between 25-26 and subsequent years. The reference to Mayoral River Road ceiling project was noted at the forum, but this project is not on the list of proposed borrowings in the delivery plan and operational plan. The funding source for Mayoral River is noted as grants and reserves rather than borrowings. And just finally, I just wanted to make the following statement around the use of borrowing more generally. Borrowings are a responsible and strategic financial tool that allows councils to deliver essential infrastructure and services when they are needed, rather than delaying projects due to funding constraints. They are not inherently negative. In fact, when managed prudently, borrowing supports long-term community development and financial sustainability. A key principle underpinning council's approach to borrowing is intergenerational equity. This means the cost of long-lived infrastructure such as roads, water treatment plants and community facilities is shared fairly between current and future ratepayers, rather than placing the full burden on today's residents. Borrowing ensures that those who benefit from infrastructure over time also contribute to the cost. This approach aligns repayment with the useful life of the asset, avoids large upfront rate increases, and supports the timely delivery of infrastructure to meet community needs. In this way, borrowing can promote fairness, financial resilience, and support the sustainable growth of our region. I hope this provides some increased clarity around Council's approach to borrowing. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Any further speakers for this item? Councillor Inman.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and through you to... no, I'll make a comment first and then I'll ask a question. I also took special note of this table, or this graph rather, on page 93 regarding our cash expense cover, and to note that we are indeed, as stands at the moment, just at around about the time of the next election, council election, will be when we have got we've got the least cash expense cover, and so to look forward to that time and the hopefully sensible approach of people at that time regarding council's borrowing capacity, and hopefully that there will not be any increase over what we've anticipated here. I've finished with a question then, which arises out of what was said on Monday night, and that is to get clarification through you to the acting CEO that in fact we do not borrow for maintenance, we borrow for capital works. So perhaps Mr Acting CEO, you could get clarification on that.
Thank you, Mr Acting CEO.
Yeah, through you, Mr Mayor, Director Hench, you might want to comment on that.
Through your Acting CEO, no, we don't borrow for maintenance, we only borrow for capital works.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, speaking in support and really just wanting to thank everyone who's just contributed. I think that's a wonderful bit of education for the community, so well said.
Thank you. Councillor Hornshaw.
Just a point of order, Mr Mayor. Are we allowing recording in this meeting? Is that normal?
Yes, thank you. There has been a request just to record some vision, which has been approved by myself and the Acting CEO. Thank you. Any further questions, comments? No? Okay, I put the item. All those in favour?
Aye.
None opposed. Declare that carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Item 11.04, I have a motion to move in relation to the draft integrated planning and reporting documents post-exhibition. And we'll just pop that up on the screen. And I'm happy to read it, although it is quite lengthy. That Council 1, note the submissions received by Council during the exhibition period as contained in the draft integrated planning and reporting, Our Community, Our Plan, a community engagement report, attachment 1. 2, note the Council's response to the community feedback for each of the draft integrated planning and reporting, Our Community, Our Plan documents, attachment 2. 3, note the detailed amendments to the exhibited draft integrated planning and reporting, Our Community, Our Plan documents resulting from the community feedback during the public exhibition period, attachment 3, including the allocation of a portion of the available general rate yield to sustain service levels for parks and stormwater maintenance. 4, note the use of the available rate yield for the purposes of sustaining service levels for parks and stormwater maintenance across the duration of the long-term financial plan 2025-2035, includes utilisation of 20% of the available rate yield in 25-26 and a further 31% of the available rate yield in 26-27, resulting in an additional allocation of $0.9 million in the 25-26 budget and a further $1.4 million in 2026-27. Adopt the following integrated planning and reporting Our Community, Our Plan documents. A, Community Strategic Plan, Imagine 2050, Attachment 4, Delivery Program 2025 to 29, including the Draft Operational Plan 2025-26, Attachment 5. C, Resourcing Strategy 2025-2035, Attachment 6, comprising Long-Term Financial Plan 2025-2035, Workforce Management Strategy 2025-29, Asset Management Strategy 2025-2035. 6, in accordance with the New South Wales Office of Local Government Integrated Planning and Reporting Guidelines for Local Government in New South Wales, September 2021, publish a copy of the adopted Integrated Planning and Reporting Our Community, Our Plan documents on Council's website within 28 days of adoption. 7, thank community members who provided feedback on the draft plan and reporting Our Community, Our Plan documents during the public exhibition. Thank those who made a submission in relation to the draft integrated planning and reporting Our Community, Our Plan documents, and advise them of Council's determination of this matter. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Interman, thank you. Catching my breath. Item 11.04 is obviously one of our biggest reports and bodies of work for the year and also for the future, and particularly this term of council. We've obviously got the operational plan, the delivery program, the resourcing strategy, Imagine 2050 community strategic plan, the revenue policy, fees and charges and rating maps. There's a lot of work to deliver. As far as reporting, but also to deliver on behalf of our community using rates and also fees and charges as part of operations. As councillors will know, having read the reports, we've got approximately $336 million allocated, including $164 million or thereabouts in capital works program designed to support our growing population and maintain essential infrastructure. Some of the key infrastructure projects that I'd like to note are the Kawara Water Treatment Plant, the Mayoral River Road Upgrade, Ocean Drive Duplication Project, Thrumster Sporting Fields, Northern Arm Trunk Water Main, Thrumster Wastewater Treatment Plant, Pembroke Road Intersection, Stony Creek Bridge Upgrade, Cairncross Leachate Disposal System, Kew Kendall Wastewater Scheme and Diversion. In addition to these, we'll also progress, if adopted, future planning for the Port Macquarie City Heart Project, implement a new airport master plan, and undertake a review of the UGMS and development of a land use strategy. I think anyone could agree that is a substantial and ambitious set of works for the year that also covers all corners of our LGA, which I'm sure most of us, if not all of us, would be very much appreciative of. I would like to say the adopted plans would reflect a carefully considered and fully funded budget approach, and I thank Director Henschke for his summation on that one earlier. But also this is an example of Council's ability to invest in areas of critical importance that matters to our community. It sets out considerations to sustainably manage short, medium and long-term objectives through thoughtful, strategic and balanced planning across several service delivery areas. These include road and water infrastructure upgrades to parks and stormwater management, and I'd like to thank Council staff for its diligent planning and presentation of these plans for the community, and also to the community for their input during the exhibition period. Thank you. Any further speakers? Councillor Interman. Reserving that. Any further speakers? Councillor Edwards. Thank you. I
just had a question, Mr Mayor.
Question from Councillor Edwards.
Apologies, Councillor Shepherd. Just reading clause 4, Mr Mayor, through you to Acting CEO, Mr Fish. I just wondered the wording for sustaining service levels for stormwater and parks across the duration of the long-term financial plan. Just wondering, does that mean that's a commitment beyond the 2 financial years that are actually indicated?
Thank you, Mr Acting CEO.
Yeah, through you, Mr Mayor. So the incorporation of that additional rate yield over the course of the next 2 financial years enables the continuation at the existing levels through the life of the long-term financial plan.
Thank you. Councillor Shepherd.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move an amendment, please.
Sure. And that being?
I think I've submitted it, so it should come up on the screen here.
Yep. And can I ask, is this substantially the same, and is there an item that we need to focus on?
Yeah, so firstly, I had requested your clause 4 be inserted, so I'll do that in the first instance.
Mm-hmm. And are you seeing that on the screen?
Yes,
Councillor
I
Shepherd?
can, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So substantially, the only difference between mine and Mr Mayor's is for clause 5.
Mm-hmm.
We can, yep, great. And so where the differences are, 5A, that we'd adopt the community strategic plan. The difference is subject to an amendment to the livable and economic themes to include Arts Mid North Coast as a key collaborator. And 5B, that the delivery program and draft operational plan be adopted subject to an amendment to the 2025 operational plan budget to allocate funding for continued membership with Arts Mid North Coast to be offset by an equivalent reduction in the funding for community grants program.
Okay, thank you. And as they're the only adjustments to what I moved?
Correct.
Thank you. I'm happy to take those in if Councillor Enterman is happy also. That is agreed, so happy to take those in, which become part of the motion.
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Would you like to speak to that, Councillor Shepherd?
That becoming a motion, I would simply thank you for your extremely good summary of the item that we have before us here. And in addition to that, thank both John Oxley, who provided that representation to us on Monday, and the question from Councillor Lipovac and the incredibly comprehensive response that we got from Director Henschke just then. That question from Mr Oxley on Monday, I think, is an example of the type of questions we get from community members who are really working hard to be engaged and understand a very complex and difficult and necessarily incomplete picture. And so they were very intelligent and reasonable questions, and I appreciate the length that Director Henschke has gone to answer those. I would just like to flag for us to continue to keep in mind that a part of our pathway to getting to a balanced budget over this long-term financial plan without cash shortfalls, without deficits, is that review of that we've undertaken of the sewer and water infrastructure, and what that has meant has been the postponement or postponement of renewal and maintenance activities that is going to make things a lot harder for us in those outer years, and that's something we have to keep our minds on, that we don't want to get to that point and be terribly frustrated at the council 10 years ago for taking money away from the needed renewals and upgrades in order to keep the infrastructure up to date. So I'm very happy with this item. Thank you for the information and discussion that's been had.
Thank you, Councillor Shepherd. Any further speakers? Councillor Hornshaw.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. My comments also relate to item 11.06 that are coming up. I think this council has been exemplary in delivering 2 rate freezes over the last term of council, and only going with the rate peg of 4.1% increase this time, where some other councils, especially around Northern Beaches and North Sydney, have had high double-figure special rate variations. So the job of being a Libertarian councillor is easier at this council than it is at many. But still, although we've delivered 2 rate freezes and had found efficiencies to cover that, I think we shouldn't rest on our laurels. We should continue to find efficiency here so that we can leave more funds in the community. so that people may use their money for the things that they value most highly. If money is collected off somebody involuntarily, it can only be used for something they value less highly than what they would have spent it on. I do note that in the community consultation, some people did say they want a rate rise if they get extra services, but it's not asked along with that, are you actually a ratepayer? So anybody can say that they want more money collected from somebody else, but we shouldn't put too high we shouldn't take those comments too seriously if it's not their own money. If a ratepayer does want to pay more money, well, they can. BPay, cash, credit card, and all the usual methods. So if a ratepayer wants to pay more, they can do so. And so I take it that unless people are doing that voluntarily, nobody voluntarily wants to pay more. They just want more given to them at the expense of somebody else. So I don't support the rate rise that is part of our budget, even though I do commend the staff, as others have done, for delivering quite an exemplary budget. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Hornshaw. Councillor Edwards.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, staff, for the full suite of integrated planning and reporting documents, of which the delivery program, which is the 4-year, what we're going to do in this term, and the first year of how we're going to fund those things and what we're going to achieve. I would also like to touch on the community feedback, as some other councillors have mentioned, noting the community feedback was in actual fact that most people wanted to recover some of what was the rate freeze. So we're going to maintain those service levels for stormwater and parks, and that is something that the community was in favour of, even if that meant paying a little bit more, which was in fact just taking back some, not all, of the rate freeze that we introduced in previous years of council. And I would also just make the comment that residents who might be renting are really still effectively ratepayers too. They pay the rent, the landlords pass on often the costs. So I think that, you know, our community, whoever they are, who's taking the time to give us feedback, we should appreciate it, we should respect it, and we should understand that we all pay for the things that we enjoy as a community and invest in together.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Any further speakers? Councillor Interman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple of points. We've certainly had people who have said to us that putting in submissions at the time when we exhibit does not give them any assurance that what they're suggesting is going to be taken on board. And so certainly I and others have been encouraging people to make sure that and groups, that they get their suggestions in early. Do not wait until this time for exhibition. Get it in early, and if necessary, have consultation with the relevant staff. So I'm just wishing to underline that. And also to say that I respect what Councillor Hornshaw says, but I have a little bit of a different view. In my opinion, the rate freeze has actually led to a loss of services, and the efficiency gains that were being progressed. It is a constant process within council and indeed within any efficient organisation to continue with efficiency processes as time goes by. But that I need to stand up for the organisation and for the services it provides to its community, and not to downgrade those, not to put them as being something that constantly we can make up for with efficiencies and loss of services. That will end up eroding the organisation. So I am glad that we have not had another rate freeze, that we are in fact capturing back some of that rate income that was lost during the rate freeze. And some people have said to me, look, constantly, why is it that council engages in this inflationary pressure to increase rates according to the CPI, as it used to be known, according to the CPI. Well, if we don't do that, then it comes a point where you can't afford it. And in fact, our costs have gone up way over the CPI for quite a number of years now, with the increased costs in materials and labour and our procurement projects. It is becoming, and also the push down of costs from the state government. We must be vigilant to make sure that the organisation can stay viable in order to provide necessary services to the community, and not to become ensconced in this notion that necessarily council will provide better service if it has less money. It just does, the math doesn't add up. I also applaud this budget and commend it to my colleagues with those couple of comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Interman. Councillor Maltman.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm just standing to just address some of that rate freeze commentary. And I just refer councillors to, and our community actually, to page 54 of the agenda, which outlines one of council's key financial highlights. Year to date, investment income exceeded budget expectations by $3,512,003. These are not assumptions or projections, they are actual reported outcomes. And I now direct councillors to page 59. Tanya might want to put the information up on the screen if you, I don't know, it's probably a bit much to ask. Yeah, okay. Council's page 59 states clearly, council's investment income is ahead of budget with a total of $13.3 million earned year to date. So let's not forget that 2023-24 is a year which this council implemented a rate freeze. And what the actual factual information says, council's investment income is ahead of budget with a total of $13.3 million earned year to date. This isn't opinions. These are figures reported in this agenda for everyone to see. So I am rising to, because I believe it is important to set the record straight when claims and rhetoric appear to contradict council's published financial performance. Thanks.
Mr Mayor?
Thank you, Councillor Maltman. Councillor Interman.
The word rhetoric is rather inflammatory. I have facts to ground what I have said, and so therefore we can have opinions.
Of course.
But to denounce somebody as mere rhetoric is not appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Interman. Any further speakers? Councillor Tubman.
Yeah, regarding, thank you, Mr Mayor. Regarding the 13.3 million, from what I can tell, that is a lot from interest rates being higher in the post-COVID period. And if I'm also mistaken, this is probably a question for staff, that there was a $9.7 million loss in the general fund. Is that correct? Like not loss, but deficit in the general fund. It's not, through you, Mr Mayor.
So just so we're clear, so you've spoken to the item, you're finishing with a question, Councillor Tubman?
I would say that is the question, that whole thing is the question. I do have a comment I want to make about the general item.
Okay, so what we normally do is you talk to the item and you can have a question. Otherwise it becomes difficult to manage. So if you'd like to finish your talk and then ask a question at the end, that would be perfect.
Thank you.
Or the other way around, but you've already started to speak, so.
Okay, thank you. I'll continue on with my other items. So thank you, Mr Mayor, for incorporating the arts, Mid-North Coast Arts into the amendment. Into the motion. I was expecting there to be a bit of debate around that, but I just thought I'd continue my comments that I was planning with that regard. So, looking at what the Arts Mid-North Coast has provided to the general region as a whole, not just the Port Macquarie Hastings, supporting many local artists as well as doing murals like at a Belgian water tower, and also one of the Clyde Street laneway murals in Kempsey. I think that it's very beneficial for the community, as well as when you bring into that as well the information from the Our Community, Our Plan, especially under livability, where the demographic insights state that one of the items that youth and seniors also stated was that, and I quote here, inclusive events and also for seniors, inclusive events to reduce isolation. So I believe that the Mid-North Coast Arts group provides services for that, and also considering that there isn't, funding for cultural events in the upcoming documentation. I think that this is a good thing for our community. Now, I would like to finish up with that question for staff regarding the 13.3 million. I believe that was due to an unexpected rise in interest rates, that we were able to accumulate that, and also that there was it was a 9.7 million reduction. No, I'm wrong about that.
Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to start.
I will put the question through the Acting CEO. Thank you, Mr. Acting CEO.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, Director Hinchke might want to comment on the requested information. If not, we'll take it on notice.
Through the Acting CEO, I can, in relation to the above budget interest performance, that's really because interest rates had stayed higher for longer than anticipated. So if you remember, about 18 months ago, they were talking about a series of rate cuts, which just hadn't eventuated. So our budget assumption on what we'd earn from interest was very conservative. The reference to the other number, I'm not sure whether that's on a general fund operating deficit.
Sorry, I must have been mistaken. Sorry.
Okay.
Thank you. We'll take that as answered. All right, so we've had 7 speakers on this item. Is there any further speakers before we put the motion? See and hear none. I put the item. All those in favour?
Aye.
So we've got in favour Councillor Interman, Lipovac, Roberts, Maltman, Kirkman, Tubman, Edwards, Shepherd. Those against? Councillor Hornshaw, thank you. Declare that carried 8-1. Thank you, councillors. Item 11.05, draft asset management plans post-exhibition. Do I have a mover? Councillor Edwards, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Interman, thank you. Councillor Edwards, your floor.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will just really briefly like to say again, lots of thank yous today, but thank you very much to staff for having had these ready for viewing for councillors and the public. And it's clear that there remains to be much work to do, but what a great baseline, and to have that transparency about where we're at and where we're going is really, really fantastic. And thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Right, Councillor Interman.
I would like to ask for a small amendment, and that is on clause 3. Thank and advise those who made a submission.
I'm pretty sure Councillor Edwards would be happy to do that.
Thank you. I support what Councillor Edwards has said, and I know that that's a general feeling amongst councillors that we've made huge progress in asset management, risk management in the last little while, and this brings us to a culmination. We've got a number of things that are coming forward along these lines, and it's great to have these asset management plans updated after public exhibition. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further speakers? See and hear none. I put that item. All those in favour?
Aye.
None opposed. Declare that carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. I have an item to move in relation to 11.06, making of the 2025-26 fees and charges, revenue policy and rating maps, and notation of proposed budget adjustments. So that is on the screen here. Now I will just ask, given that we had an amendment to 11.04, I will just ask governance if we could potentially incorporate that, particularly relating to the Arts Mid-North Coast, if it's relevant to be an adjustment to this 11.06.
If I may, Mr. Mayor.
Sure can. Councillor Shepherd.
Yep, so I believe that would simply be clause 7 of the amendment that I'd lodged. So that should be in the dummy minutes, ready to go. Clause 7 from my amendment.
Thank you. We will just get that up on the screen. Okay, and I just need to check that this one that we're discussing here doesn't have anything extra.
Mr Mayor, okay.
Yeah, thank you.
The one on the screen incorporates all amendments that we had a look at. We can take one of those out at this stage if that's what you'd like.
Yes. It's obviously difficult to do open forum, but just for clarity, we had quite a few versions that were workshopped amongst councillors prior to the item. The only one that was put forward and adopted was in relation to Arts Mid North Coast. So at this stage, I'm happy just to incorporate that one.
Mr Mayor, that would be the one that you were intending to move plus the one that Councillor Shepherd was intending to move, putting together.
Thank you. And you're happy that that's what we've got there?
That's what's there now.
Okay, thank you. I might just read that from the top so we're abundantly clear. It is obviously a large item. So happy to move that one, note the financial commentary related to the draft 2025-26 budget and updated 2025-2035 long-term financial plan in support of the draft resourcing strategy 2025-2035, draft delivery program 2025-2029 and draft operational plan 25-26 presented as a separate report on this agenda. Note that the commentary referring to in point 1 and as determined by Council for agenda item 11.04 included the allocation of a portion of the available general rate yield to sustain service levels for parks and stormwater maintenance within the 25-26 financial year, with a further requirement in the 26-27 financial year to sustain those services. 3, note that bringing point 2 into effect across the duration of the long-term financial plan 25-2035 as adopted by Council for agenda item 11.04 includes utilisation of 20% of the available rate yield in 25-26 and a further 31% of the available rate yield in 26-27, resulting in an additional allocation of 0.9 million in the 25-26 budget and a further 1.4 million in 26-27. 4, note the amendments to the exhibited 25-26 fees and charges, 2025-26 revenue policy and 25-26 rating maps. 5, adopt the 25-26 fees and charges, including amendments to reflect statutory fees set by the state and federal government agencies and the 25-26 revenue policy and the 25-26 rating maps as attached. 6, make the 25-26 rates, special rates and charges as outlined in attached 25-26 revenue policy, 25-26 rating maps, and then 25-26 fees and charges document. 7, approve minor amendments to the draft documents to correct minor clarifications and typographical errors. 8, set the interest rate on overdue rates and charges at 10.5% from 1 July 25 to 30 June 26 in accordance with the Office of Local Government Determination. And 9, amend the 25 to 26 budget to include a reduction of the community grants program budget to fund the continued membership of Arts Mid North Coast for 25-26 as adopted in agenda item 11.04 draft integrated planning and reporting documents post exhibition. Thank you. Maybe some extra oxygen whilst you're there. Do I have a seconder for this one? Councillor Moulman, thank you. happy to briefly talk to this one. Obviously, from a technical point of view, we need to adopt a number of these financial documents to supplement item 11.04, which is all the things we talked about that we aim to deliver over the next 12 months and also forward plan. Noting full well that we've made a minor adjustment on the Arts Mid-North Coast and the implications on the community grants. Also noting that from all the discussion that we've had, the staff have spent a considerable amount of time over, I would suggest years, getting us to a position where we have a very strict, I guess, direction going forward that really supports and facilitates the delivery of key and critical infrastructure that we absolutely need to keep up with the growth of this growing region. So with that, happy to take a further question or comment from any other councillor. Councillor Edwards, thank you.
I'd like to move a slight amendment, Mr Mayor.
Sure.
Please. And I did circulate this earlier, and really it would just be a little addition to your clause 5. So I would like to move everything that Mr Mayor has moved, including a change to clause 5, which would read, should I read it out? It's in the dummy minutes for everybody. Just adopt the 2025-2026 fees and charges, including amendments to reflect statutory fees set by state and federal government agencies and the 2025-2026 revenue policy and the 2025-2026 rating maps as attached, subject to the reinstatement of the concessional admission fees for the Port Macquarie Public Swimming Pool of $4.70 and $4.30 for Kendall, Laurelton, Warhope Public Swimming Pools for holders of a blue pensioner concession card or Veterans Affairs card only.
Thank you. If we could potentially see that into the motion. I'm happy to take that in as part of the motion. Councillor Maltman, are you happy to do that?
Thank you very much.
Okay, so we've got a grant from the mover and seconder to take that into the original motion. Question, Councillor Interman?
Thank you, and I understand this was mooted before the meeting, but does this conform with the contract that we've got with the pool people?
Thank you. I'll pass that to the Acting CEO.
Yeah, through you, Mr Mayor, there are implications related to pool admission fees, which I'll ask Director Watkins to talk to.
Thank you.
Through you, Mr CEO, Acting CEO, we will have to have conversations with the pool operators because it is contractual in terms of what we charge and how we charge it. Obviously, council doesn't get any revenue from the fees that are charged for the pool, but I think this particular amendment is a reasonable amendment that wouldn't adversely impact the operations of the pool. So I think it may be a favourable conversation. I'm not expecting any significant issues.
Thank you. So just clarifying, we now have the motion with that incorporated on the screen. I'm getting the nod. Thank you. Any further speakers to this item? Councillor Edwards.
Yes, and thank you very much, Mr Mayor and Councillor Maltman, for taking that one in. I did just want to say a couple of things on that because, retaining the concession admission fees, I think, for community members who hold the blue pensioner concession card is a matter of fairness and inclusion and public health as well. Blue concession card holders are eligible for either the aged pension, a disability pension or a parenting pension, and they're getting by on a lower income, and they often rely on accessible public facilities like swimming pools to stay active and healthy and socially connected. So concessions, in my view, are not a luxury. They are a small investment in community wellbeing, equity and dignity that we can make. Many councillors have spoken about cost of living, and I think this is a really a great way of actually acting on that and this challenge for people and helping those who really kind of need it the most. I would also like to say happy to be moving this item, supporting of this item with everything that we're putting out there of how we're going to achieve the plans. I would just make the note though, as with the last item, we're talking about what we're delivering for the community and this is how we're doing it, but I just want to make the comment that with increasing capital works of course, equals an increase in asset burden, and that's what we have to have our minds on, is not just what we construct and deliver, but how we then maintain and afford those levels of standard and service to the community. So I hope that we will all continue to have our eye on that, in this term, and that is why I think, commenting on one particular result at one point in time, a tiny snapshot, is not what we need to have our eye on. We're looking at the longer term picture, and we can see the projections, and we know that we've got work to do. So we can't take a small result from particularly our investments and say that we're fine. We need to be looking at that longer term, and we can see we've got deficits and there's work for us to do.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Councillor Interman.
Small point, and I'm happy to take this offline to Director Henschke if we wish to. But I also am very mindful that we not exceed borrowing capacity. And so sometimes the words that come out in these reports are a little bit too encouraging of debt, as I find it. So on page 92, there's a table and there's a legend at the bottom that says borrowing capacity maximum, and there's a red dotted line, and borrowing capacity recommended, and there's a yellow yellow dotted line. That to me indicates failure to properly word that, to note that these are not things that we can go to, these are maximums. So there's a borrowing capacity maximum. Well, that's not true, because we're not going to go there. Maximum permissible, perhaps, maximum reasonable, and then borrowing capacity recommended. Well, no, because there's a dotted line all the way across on a recommended amount. Recommended maximum, perhaps. We can't afford to have language that encourages us to think that there is an encouragement to borrowing. So I'm very happy to talk with Director Henschke separately, but there's just some language that gets in here, like, for instance, we're not after a profit. Sometimes it talks about us getting a profit. Well, we're not after a profit. We need proper language in here to relate to council as opposed to a business. Beyond that, I would like to note that growth costs us, and we are constantly under a pressure to accommodate, in fact, to retrograde, to retroactively refit our facilities to accommodate growth, and that's expensive. And we should, none of us, forget that we've got that pressure on us here. Makes us very different to Kempsey and Nambucca and Bellingen, similar to Coffs Harbour, but Coffs Harbour has got much fewer amount of roads that they deal with there. This council has got its own particular scenario, its own particular conditions that we have to meet. So many people out there tell me that council should be bouncing because it's got growth. Well, it's actually an expense, and we should not forget that. Thank you.
Councillor Interman, I will just pass the question to the acting CEO. Yeah. Well, I thought there was.
No, I was making a comment. I said before I would speak with Director Henschke offline, but then what I just said then was a comment. If you saw a question, I'm happy for it to be translated.
I'm happy for it to be answered, so we're all clear too, though. Thank you, Councillor Interman. Mr. Acting CEO.
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to highlight a couple of the paragraphs that are on page 92, which I guess provide the commentary in relation to the referred to graph. So the graph also shows what could be considered council's maximum borrowing capacity. That's the red line. This cap is calculated by reviewing several of council's ratios and ensuring they remain within the recommended benchmarks over the duration of the loans. The recommended borrowing capacity, which is the yellow line, also looks at council's cash flow and ability to service additional borrowings and retain capacity to manage unforeseen events and all the impacts of unexpected project costs, like the potential impact of some of the recent unfolding global events. So there is some commentary within the report that, I guess, articulates the rationale behind those particular lines that are on that graph.
Thank you, and I understand that, but nevertheless, my concern stands. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Councillor Lipovac.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm going to take a slightly different slant on this particular item, and I'll say up front, no disrespect to staff or the work they've put into this particular item. But it is fair to say that wherever you live in our LGA, from the North Shore to Comboyne, the 25-26 budget will affect us all, and some more than others. In a perfect world, there would be no increases in fees and charges, and no new fees would be added, but that is not sustainable. Council does consider the financial impact on residents, but also the financial implications of council not being able to maintain and improve in the provision of basic core services and responsibilities. It is extremely difficult to find the right balance that would please everyone. Excuse me. In addition to surviving a couple of floods and bushfires, the COVID period, and a tough economic climate over recent years, we've all experienced inflation that has been substantial, or has seen substantial rises in our grocery bills, electricity, gas, fuel, insurance, and the list goes on. Council is no different, and there is only so much cost cutting that can be done and has been done over the past 5 years. As we know, no business can survive running at a loss for prolonged periods. For the record, I support taking on the annual recommended rate peg, but I don't necessarily support every item listed for an increase in the fees and charges for the 25-26 financial year. I am all for being financially responsible, and in comparison to other neighbouring council areas, we're doing okay. But in my opinion, the majority of local residents continue to struggle to make ends meet, and we as councillors and council staff must continue to carefully consider our priorities, our needs and our wants, without impacting in the short or the long term our most valuable asset, the people of the Port Hastings region. As we have seen, we as in council certainly go out of our way to look after our residents during extreme weather events, but we also need to continue with that care and compassion when the economy, through no fault of our own, is also greatly impacting our day-to-day lives. I am almost tempted to vote against this item, but it would achieve nothing. So again, thank you for the work put into this, and we look forward to a strong financial year that leads to better years ahead as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lipovac. Councillor Hornshaw.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I made most of my comments on 11.04, so I won't say much more. But I'll just say that anyone else in our community, whether it's a family, a business or a charity, if they can't afford to do all of the things that they want to do, and most people and most organisations that make up the community are in a cost of living crisis, are facing financial pressures, they can't just take a vote and make a policy to go and take more from somebody else. They have to find ways through voluntary means, through persuasion rather than coercion, to try to increase their budget. A business will have to try to sell more products. A household might have to take on more jobs or more hours, but they can only use voluntary means to try to expand their revenue. They can't just take a vote to go and take. And it doesn't matter if they say things like, well, it would be irresponsible not to go and take more money, or it wouldn't be sustainable if we didn't take more money. That doesn't cut it if they're law-abiding citizens. So this organisation, being an arm of the state, is treated differently under the law, but in my opinion, it's not any different morally. And so we should be like other people. If we can't afford to do the things that we want to do, find voluntary means to achieve our ends or curb our ideals. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Hornshaw. Any further speakers? I see and hear none. Okay, I put the motion. All those in favour? We've got in favour Councillor Shepherd, Councillor Interman, Councillor Lipovac, Councillor Roberts, Councillor Maltman, Councillor Kirkman, Councillor Tubman, Councillor Edwards. Those against? Councillor Hornshaw. Thank you. Declare that carried 8 votes to 1. Thank you, councillors. Item 11.08, Improvement Plan 22 to 26, General Fund Operating Performance. Would someone like to move a motion? Thank you, Councillor Edwards. The staff recommendation, seconded by Councillor Tubman, thank you. Councillor Edwards.
Yes, thanks, Mr Mayor. Happy to move this, but don't want to repeat what I've just said. I think I'll just simply, what I said before, let's work together and have our eye on, how we do better, how we find revenue in the future other than rates and user fees as well. So let's keep our thinking caps on, and thank you for the general fund report. It's so important. So I won't repeat anything else, but let's keep working.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Any further speakers? Councillor Tubman.
Yeah, I would like to speak in support of this. Thank you, Mr Mayor. Regarding the framework, the workforce management framework, I'd like to call out the fresh start for the trainees, and I'd like to welcome the new trainees that have come on. I think that's a good method for getting the younger members of the community involved in council and let them be aware, and then also provide avenues for them to be trained up. So and that's just one of the many projects and initiatives that are part of this improvement plan. So I'd just like to call that out. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tubman. Any further speakers? Councillor Interman.
Thank you. Firstly, a note, there's a note on page 110 that there's going to be an independent ABEF health check. There's no note there that councillors will get a copy of that. Question through you to the Acting CEO. Do we need to specifically request that?
Thank you, Mr Acting CEO.
Yeah, through Mr Mayor, I might take that on notice. I'm not sure what historically has happened there, but we do have a review happening at this point in time, so I'd advise you outside of the meeting, Councillor Interman, on that one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Further comment?
Yes.
Thank you for that. Part of the problem was I feel that there was quite a bit of distance put between what was happening in the organisation regarding ABEF and council and advice to councillors. So I look forward to a discussion with the Acting CEO regarding that. And just to make a comment that it seems to me that we're coming to the end of a lot of things on this. There's a lot of projects that are programs that are being ended, and so I would expect that now would be a time for council internally to revisit its position in terms of what resources go where, because we've got a lot of these projects programs have just completed. Some of them are to be implemented, and so presumably there will be costs there. But there were a disturbing amount of staff resources that were put to the ABEF at various times. And so I am just noting that this is a concern to me, that we're now completing something and we need to be rethinking how do we go forward. We can't simply roll those expenses over in the same way as they have been before. Beyond that, I'm not going to object to this, but this is a talking point I believe that we should be picking up going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Interman. Any further speakers? See and hear none. I put the item. All those in favour?
Aye.
None opposed. Declare that carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Item 11.09, write-off bad debts, sundry debtors. Councillor Lipovac moving staff recommendation. Yes. And seconded by Councillor Interman. Thank you, Councillor Lipovac.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So I'll start off by saying that personally I am not comfortable in writing off more than $210,000 in debt incurred by Virgin Australia Airlines under the business name of Virgin Australia Holdings Limited when they entered voluntary administration in April 2020. For those who are unaware, under the new ownership of Bain Capital and under the new business name of Virgin Australia Airlines Proprietary Limited, the organisation in fact generated group revenue of more than $5.4 billion during the 23-24 financial year, which led to its biggest operating profit in more than a decade of $519 million, which was announced last October. So you might be thinking, oh, they made a profit of $519, we only want $210,000. Surely they can sling us that money that they owe. I've been educated this week. Unfortunately, as a separate legal entity, the current Virgin Airlines is not responsible for the debt of the previous Virgin Airlines. It is legally unenforceable, so we lose out. However, in saying that, we'd also love to have Virgin return to port and provide some competition as soon as possible. On a side note, or in a similar theme, Bonza, currently under administration, owes council almost $149,000. And Rex Airlines has been under administration for almost a year. However, it's been reported that there's some positive progress on its sale. They're seeking an extension through until the end of the year, and that's via the federal court. Potentially a new owner announcement could be made soon. And that's it, Mr Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pivac. Councillor Inman.
Thank you, Councillor Lipovac, for that information. Yes, a very hurtful thing to have to tolerate. We go into things in good faith with organisations, with individuals, and then to have that good faith not recognised, not reciprocated, is very disappointing. Indeed, we want Virgin back again, but damn it, they should be facing up to the consequences of the debts that they incurred to us, and they should be ashamed at doing this. I understand that this is a dog-eat-dog behaviour that can be undertaken, but also to note that if we are here as a responsible organisation, sometimes we have to cop this, and sometimes that's a part of the reason why we can't do as well as we can. Again, shame on these people, these organisations, who do use the loopholes to the detriment of others. Very disappointing, disheartening, and bad. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Inman. Any further speakers on this item? See and hear none. I put the item. All those in favour? Councillor Shepherd. Okay, without a response, I'll...
Sorry, Councillor Shepherd's just message, so she votes in support.
Okay, great, thank you. I declare that carried unanimously. Thank you. Councillors, 1111, review of disbanded council committees. Someone have a motion to move? Councillor Edwards?
Yes. Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, I'll just move an alternate motion, which is very slight change, which is really just surrounding the name. And since I put this amendment to circulation, I've had further feedback from some councillors. So I would like to move a slight change to what I circulated. I'll just read it. It's only 3 clauses. So that Council 1, note the information provided in the report. 2, endorse the principles and guidelines referenced in the report for the establishment of future committees by Council. So they're the same. 3, request the Chief Executive Officer to develop a draft Port Macquarie Hastings Council establishment and management of committees policy.
So we'll just incorporate those words.
And then continues on the basis of the principles and guidelines referenced in the report for the establishment of council committees for consideration by council at the August 2025 meeting of council. Just check.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll just check that the words that you provided are suitable for you, Councillor Edwards.
It's just gone.
That's all right. We'll be back.
Yeah, I was going to say that just the capitals, if that's okay, Tanya, for establishment and management. Thank you.
And are you happy with that, Councillor Edwards?
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Okay, do I have a seconder for this item? Yeah. Councillor Inman? Thank you. Councillor Edwards?
I don't really want to say too much on this one. We've finally had the review of disbanded council committees, and we seem to have a little bit of a way moving forward now that we can investigate and interrogate committees' structures, how we might establish them, how we might manage them, and as you look around and see other councils often have policies or guidelines, I think this is a great step forward for us to be getting some clarity there and deciding. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Councillor Interman.
Thank you. I would encourage the staff to consider this with the idea of flexibility in mind. Committees can become incredibly ossified and just over bureaucratic and inefficient and old. And so we need to keep some flexibility here, and I would like to encourage staff to consider that when looking at this policy coming back. And if you need more time, then we can extend it beyond August. But we have to think about how to be flexible. How are we going to engage the community members out there in a variety of ways, not in just one rigid framework. Director, forgive me for taking your name in vain, Director Watkins, but she and I had a discussion about a summit on environmental issues, for instance. It doesn't need to be a month-on-month, and preferably it would not be a month-on-month committee that's pushed into a box. We have to be able to think on our feet going forward. There could be sunset committees that we establish for a couple of months for particular issues. So that's my hope, that the staff will take on board those sorts of ideas when we're talking about these committees. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Interman. Any further speakers? See and hear none. I put the item. All those in favour?
Aye.
We have support from Councillor Shepherd, Councillor Interman, Councillor Lipovac, Councillor Tubman, Councillor Edwards, and myself. Those opposed, Councillor Hornshaw, Maltman, Kirkman. I declare the item carried 6 votes to 3. Thank you, councillors. Item 12.01, we just have to wait for the acting CEO to vacate, in which case Director Watkins would step into the role if needed. Thank you. All right, so we've got Hastings River Flood Study Extension. Someone have an item to move? Councillor Interman. Staff recommendation moved by Councillor Interman, seconded by anybody? Councillor Edwards, thank you. Councillor Interman.
Yes, this was discussed earlier, I think month before last, that due to the comments we'd got from the community, there was an amount of work that still needed to be done, and so this just notes deferring the flood study previously scheduled for now, and we get a further report once the changes to the study have been made following the consultation. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further speakers? See and hear none. I put the item. All those in favour?
Aye.
Thank you. All in favour, none opposed. Declare that carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Well, we'll wait for the acting CEO to come back in. Okay.
Mayor?
Question.
We've got a proposal here from Councillor Shepherd. Is she still connected?
I can check that when I call the item. Thank you, Councillor Interman. So item 13.01, draft community engagement strategy. Does anyone have a motion to move in relation to this item?
I do, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Shepherd.
I need assistance from one of my colleagues to move it, sorry.
Okay.
I'm happy to read it.
Thank you. Councillor Interman's happy to second and read?
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, so proposal by Councillor Shepherd that Council 1 Endorse the draft community engagement strategy attachment 1 for the purpose of public exhibition. 2, endorse the proposed engagement plan to support the public exhibition of the draft strategy as included as attachment 3, subject to the following. A, the inclusion of an additional key message on, quote, how do you want council to engage with you, unquote. B, the inclusion of specific questions seeking community views on the use of committees as a means of consulting and collaborating on important planning, policy and strategic matters of council. C, the preparation and inclusion in the exhibition material of a fact sheet to assist with informing responses to the question identified in B, that's 2B, based on the information contained in item 11.11, review of disbanded council committees from the June 2025 ordinary council meeting agenda. Hope that's clear to everybody. 3, place the community engagement strategy on public exhibition for a period of not less than 28 days.
Thank you, Councillor Interman. I will ask, as a courtesy, Councillor Shepherd, would you like to speak to this item?
Thank you, Lisa, for reading that, and I think the amendments are self-explanatory.
Thank you. Any further speakers?
Just to reinforce that the goal here is, again, clarity of communication with the community. Yes, we want to know how the community want council to engage with them. Some people will or won't have suggestions. I'm wondering why we don't use email more often. Secondly, a specific question about the use of committees, so we're looking for feedback on that, and a fact sheet, so that to make it clearer for people. I support this just to see what comes back from the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Interman. Any further speakers? Councillor Edwards.
Yes, just briefly, more or less echo the sentiment of Councillor Interman, but I think that just to acknowledge we have had engagement and a lot of feedback, and throughout this 2,000 odd pages that we've been considering for this meeting, I believe that the community has indicated an interest in committee, so it's good to specifically draw out and ask the question, and also acknowledging that we have had petitions surrounding committees. So, you know, clearly we also need more pointed feedback from the community. So why not be clearer and really ask them direct questions on that, so that we have even more information, so that councillors can be informed and decide where we go.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Any further speakers? Councillor Hornshaw.
I'd like to speak against this motion. I think that the council should do less of this sort of engagement, not more. I think that the sort of feedback from the community that's really important to get is specifics. You know, there's a stray dog, or there's a dead tree, or there's an unregistered car, or something in a driveway, or there's something that we actually need to respond to. We want that sort of feedback. But sort of the open-ended questions of what can council do for you, and what would you like, that tend to lead people to imagine more and more things that they could do. I think the more we ask that, the more we're going to get answers that tend to expand our scope. And I think the more we do, the more we're going to get concentrated answers from people that have direct interest in things, from the usual pressure groups and lobby groups and that, and not from the typical average community member or voter. I think the way that normal people engage with council is by voting every 4 years. And even that is a stretch for people. And so I think the way to get a representative indication of what people want is to look at how they vote, but not to go and sort of flag them down and try to ask them these sort of questions through surveys and things like that. I think we could save a lot of money as well by doing less of that. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Hornshaw. Councillor Maltman.
I also oppose this motion and wholeheartedly support the commentary from yourself, Councillor Hornshaw. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Maltman. Any further speakers? See and hear none. I put the item. All those, sorry, right of reply. Yeah. Happy.
No, thank you.
Not really. It's nice try, but I'm pretty lenient, but technicalities. So I put that item. All those in favour. We've got Councillor Shepherd, Councillor Enterman, Councillor Lipovac, Councillor Tubman, Councillor Edwards. Those opposed, Councillor Hornshaw, myself, Maltman and Kirkman. I declare that carried 5 votes to 4. Thank you, councillors. Item 13.04. We have a community inclusion plan and cultural plan engagement. Anyone have a motion to move? Staff recommendation. Thank you, Councillor Edwards, seconded by Councillor Tubman. Thank you, Councillor Edwards.
Yes, just moving the staff recommendation. Again, thank you for this work, which was pre-engagement. The report summarises pre-engagement activities and confirms that the draft documents will be produced for exhibition in the near future. But it also asks us today to endorse the themes. And noting that the updated draft community inclusion plan will now include a response to domestic and family violence from a previous meeting of council. This inclusion is even more necessary in light of the statistics for our LGA that were very recently released, revealing the worsening and worrying trend of a 30% increased rate since 2021. Which I believe builds on even further the picture, the negative picture for us that the lady who presented to us, Leonie, gave us that picture and asked us to produce a policy. Now, I also take this opportunity to highlight an announcement made this week by Minister Harrison of the government and LGNSW together. There's going to be more than $1 million to be invested in a partnership with local government, New South Wales, to support councils and communities across the state in prevention efforts. This partnership is part of New South Wales Government's Pathways to Prevention strategy, which aims to address the drivers of violence across 4 higher impact settings such as local councils and communities, schools and early childhood education, workplaces and sporting clubs. Local councils are key connectors in their community and present a unique opportunity to be the forerunners in best practice for primary prevention of gendered violence, is what the media release said. So I just wanted to highlight that the drafts that come back to us, which will go on exhibition for further comment from the community, will actually include this significant and worrying issue for our community.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Any further speakers? Councillor Intiman.
I will support this only because it's heading towards an action plan. That's all. We can get overwhelmed with words, with themes, etc. We need to work towards an action plan, and I know that that's the intention. However, just to make a comment, I believe Australian society, as a general rule, is failing to capture one of the most important aspects of engagement of people, which is civics education in schools, for goodness sake. Why do we think that children grow up to be confused about what their rights and responsibilities are, and indeed what the protections are available to them if we don't actually give civics education in schools? And I don't mean civics education as in party political. I mean about how to vote, how to exercise your rights, and that is not something that's across the board. I take this opportunity to introduce that particular hobby horse of mine in this motion, and to endorse this motion only because it heads towards some action. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Intiman. Councillor Hornshaw.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'd also like to speak against this motion. I think culture is something that the council should be less involved in, not more. I think when culture comes from the grassroots, from voluntary interaction between people, it tends to reflect people's cultural priorities and values. But when it's interfered with, or when an organisation inserts itself in culture, like a council, then there's the tendency to nudge, to steer, to be cultural busybodies, to be cultural know-it-alls rather than just allowing people to organically reflect culture. So I think we should refrain from doing that, and we should just support the community in engaging in cultural events that suit people. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Hornshaw. Any further speakers? Councillor Edwards?
Just a question, Mr Mayor, for Councillor Hornshaw on the back of that comment. Does that mean that you would suggest that council shouldn't support, for example, the culture of an Australia Day celebration? That we should take no part?
Thank you, Councillor Hornshaw.
I don't think we should expand the cultural activities that we're in. I don't think that we need to do more than what we do. And so, yeah, I'll just leave it at that. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Hornshaw. Any further speakers? Councillor Tubman.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I appreciate Councillor Hornshaw's comments. However, going back to our community, our plan, inclusive events comes out for youth, and also inclusive events to reduce isolation for seniors. As much as a council is, we support our community, and I think that understanding these issues as well is somewhere where we can play a part. And these, and all the feedback that we've got indicates that the community that we're asking are saying yes, we want these events, we appreciate these cultural events, and also by not having that feedback, and by just letting the people that are motivated enough to contact council to lead the way, will result in just a minority group controlling and not the other way around. These surveys, when they happen with the community, are done in a way to be across all broad spectrum of the demographics, to make it fair and represent our community. And that's in one of our recent briefings that was explained, that when we're going out to the community, we're doing it across the board of the demographics. We're not just getting results from one particular age group because they have to be more aware of how the system works. And I think that's more of a risk by not having this sort of ties in with the previous motion, by not having those active surveys, and this is why I think that we should be participating in cultural events to provide that for the community, and give those people an option that are suffering from isolation, or that do want those cultural events because they don't feel that connection. So I think it just provides an opportunity. I'll leave my... Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tubman. Any further speakers? See and hear none. I put that to the vote. All those in favour?
Aye.
Councillor Shepherd, Councillor Interman, Councillor Lipovac, Councillor Tubman, Councillor Edwards. Those opposed? Councillor Hornshaw, Roberts, Maltman, Kirkman. Declare that carried 5 votes to 4. Thank you, councillors. Item 13.05, Policy Review Development. Oh. There we go. I did have a scribble next to that. Thank you. 1306, Post-Exhibition Report, Port Macquarie Hastings Council, Local Infrastructure Contributions Plan 2025. We have Councillor Edwards with a hand up to move staff recommendation, seconded by Councillor Lipovac. Thank you. Councillor Edwards.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. I might just briefly start with a question, because I had initially considered whether to move a slight amendment or add a clause. So through you, Mr Mayor, could I please ask through the Acting CEO, with the monitoring and review, with the timeframe set out in this local infrastructure contributions plan of 5 years, is there opportunity for councillors to get an update somewhere before then, and would that be through an interim review or just requesting a report?
Thank you, Mr Acting CEO.
Through you, Mr CEO, Director Watkins might like to respond.
Thank you, Acting CEO. A contributions plan is not like an action plan. It actually is something that's implemented over a longer period of time. So there wouldn't be a lot to report back on in a 12 or 18 month period, because you're not implementing actions. What we're doing is levying contributions on specific developments. So the best the council could receive would be, which comes through in the budget reports anyway, is what council has collected in contributions during that period of time. So I'm not sure, and given the fact that council has already adopted the contributions framework and the draft policy has been on exhibition to say that we would review it in 5 years, and that it is to me an iterative process that is developed and constantly reviewed. I'm not sure there's a lot of value in actually doing interim reviews, as you say.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for the comments. And sorry for so many questions, especially late in the piece. I'll just speak in support of this. First of all, a huge congratulations to staff for this work from the beginning of the last term of council in setting a new direction, putting up a new framework and going through many round tables and engagements with the community at large on where we're heading here. I would note that we've been emailed, probably all councillors have been emailed about Boundary Street in this past week, and I would just like to point out that Boundary Street, flood-free access and intersection upgrades with Hastings River Drive are both in this plan, and council is working towards trying to deliver on that. I would also like to just probably finish by saying that congratulations, that's all. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Edwards. Any further speakers? Councillor
I know one of Councillor Edwards' related concerns about this was stormwater contributions, and so I want to highlight that and ask what is the opportunity for us going forward to do stormwater contributions. This might need to come back offline.
Thank you. I'll take that through the acting CEO.
Yeah, through you, Mr Mayor, happy to provide some advice with respect to stormwater outside of the meeting. I probably would just note that stormwater is difficult to levy via contributions because typically it's a very small component that you can attribute to the development, so you end up collecting funds that you can ultimately do very little with, but happy to provide some further advice in regard to that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further speakers to this item? See and hear none, I put that item. All those in favour?
Aye.
None opposed, declare that carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Item 13.08, policy review. Dogs in public open spaces post-public exhibition. Councillor Edwards moving.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. Moving an alternate motion here. Which is 1, note the submissions and feedback received relating to the review of the revised dogs in public open spaces policy during the public exhibition period. 2, adopt revised dogs in public open space policy. 3, thank people who provided feedback during the review of the revised dogs in public open spaces policy and advise them of council determination. And 4 is the only place that I have a slightly different thing to move, which is to request the Chief Executive Officer to develop a fact sheet to support the new policy and to include behavioural expectations and penalties that apply in both off-leash and on-leash settings.
Thank you. I'm happy to second. Would you like to talk to that one, Councillor Edwards?
Just briefly, Mr Mayor, it's clear from the community feedback that we need to do a bit better with signage, communications and enforcement of our policies. And I am assured that from the feedback that has been captured here from the community that this will be taken on board when reviewing the Port Macquarie Hastings Council compliance and enforcement policy. Dogs are a part of many people's lives and our community life, and I think, you know, we want to see as much harmony out there in the community as possible. So I think supporting people to do the right thing, to be very clear, you know, can only aid in that better experience for community, less incidents, and I'm really looking forward to that.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Any other speakers? See and hear none. I put that to the vote. All those in favour?
Aye.
All in favour, none opposed, declare that carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Item 13.10, DA 2024-749.1, 2 into 3 lot subdivision to create 2 industrial lots and a residue lot, vegetation removal and associated infrastructure lot 1 DP 729726 and lot 100 DP 1130726, number 178 Nancy Bird Walton Drive and Ocean Drive Q. Do I have a mover, please? Councillor Intamin, I'm happy to second. Councillor Intamin.
I would like to start with a question, please, to
Sure.
the staff. We've got the report here which says we've fulfilled all the requirements, bearing in mind this is our land, but nevertheless, through you to the acting CEO, if we can just have verbal confirmation that all these matters have been dealt with. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Acting CEO.
Through you, Mr Mayor, I would expect so. Director Watkins, would you like to add comment to that?
Thank you, Acting CEO. Yes, the application has been assessed by staff and we had external consultants actually input to the process to actually do the reviews, and that what is determined eventually making recommendations to council by the DAP. So it has been considered at arm's length from council. It meets all of the requirements in the LEP and the DCP as required, and it is recommended here for approval.
Thank you, Director Watkins. Any further speakers?
I'll speak to it before we finish.
Sure.
In view of the fact that apparently all of our conflict of interest matters have been dealt with through the process, including an independent planning consultant, and it's not considered specifically as this development, not contrary to public interest, does fulfil our planning requirements, and bearing in mind those processes have been followed, I can support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Intamin. Any further speakers? See and hear none. I put that to the vote. All those in favour?
Aye.
All those in favour, none opposed. Declare that carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Okay, item 13.12, scoping proposal, LEP housekeeping amendments 2025. Someone have a motion to move? Oh, thank you. Just awaiting Councillor Tubman to vacate. Has vacated. Councillor Hornshaw, you have a motion.
Yes, I'd like to put a motion. May I just check that that the one that's in the dummy minutes has all of the clauses? Yes, it does. I'd like to put the motion that's there on the screen.
Sure. Would you like to read it, or?
Is it necessary?
No.
I won't read it then.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Kirkman, thank you. Would you like to talk to this one, Councillor Hornshaw?
Sure. So this is a LEP housekeeping amendments. There are many different items there. Most of them are, all of them are important. A lot of them are just, minor amendments to tidy up our LEP for specific purposes that have been sort of worked out over the course of time since the last review. And so those need to go through, but they have to go through. A change to the LEP has to go through the state government. The additional things that I've requested relate to my notice of motion from was it March or April? March meeting, I think it was, to do with secondary dwellings and also dual occupancy. So a lot of people on rural properties would like to build a second house. Often that's for extended families, for their kids to be able to, afford a place to live, or for their elderly parents to be able to live. Often that means built-in childcare, taking away some of the demand on childcare places, or built-in aged care, taking away some of the pressure on aged care centres. It can sometimes mean additional income through renting out a second house for people, and all of that helps to keep people on rural land. Rather than detracting from primary production, it actually aids in it, because it gives people a way to make ends meet. Not many people actually make money from primary production in our area. I'm sure Kidman and Co makes some coin, on massive corporatised farms, but most people, that have 100 acres or whatever are doing it for love, supplementing that with off-farm income from another job. But there's pressure, and so allowing people to be able to do more with their land can help in keeping people on the land, and also help with the housing crisis. And importantly, these provisions don't allow any houses to be built that can't already be built. It just allows them to be done in a way that suits people better. So now, secondary dwellings in the LEP, the model instrument, the model instrument on which this is based, just says that a secondary dwelling should be blank square metres or blank percentage of the current floor plan and within blank metres of the existing dwelling. It doesn't tell us what those numbers should be, and so the numbers we're proposing here, I believe, are reasonable within the the constraints that there are. And so we're just, allowing a little bit more flexibility for people. And dual occupancies are already allowed in some zoning if they're attached. May I have a slight extension?
Sure.
Often attached just means, very tokenistically with a bit of PVC pipe or a bit of lattice or something, and then it's allowable. But to have it somewhere else, detached, is not allowed. And so that doesn't often suit people. They can't, there's not always the capacity to build a house right next to the existing house. It might want to be somewhere else. Also, I think allowing this flexibility, there's no losers. Generally, people building a second house on a rural property will provide their own water and sewer. They'll usually even provide their own electricity, because most people doing that nowadays would build a passive solar house. It's not intended to increase the number of driveway accesses to the road or anything like that, just allowing people flexibility to build the house the size they want in the location they want. Possible pushback is that there's pressure then for subdivision, but just because people want a thing doesn't mean they can have it. Zoning already disallows subdivision unless it's already allowed, but just because you've got a dual occupancy doesn't give you the right to subdivide if you can't already do so. So I think that these extra provisions just give people that bit of flexibility with no detriment to anyone else. So I would endorse those to my fellow councillors. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Hornshaw. Any further speakers? Any speakers? Councillor Lipovac, thank you.
I'd actually like to ask a question through you, Mr Mayor, and to the acting CEO in relation to the recommendation there. Does Council foresee any issues or concerns about what's being proposed?
Thank you, Mr Acting CEO.
Through you, Mr Mayor, Director Watkins.
Thank you, Acting CEO. There will be challenges in terms of meeting the objectives of the zones, the rural zones, but I think all of that can be borne out in the latter part of the recommendation, which says that those matters will be subject to review to assess their potential implications in terms of land use planning, infrastructure and rural land use management.
Thank you. Any further speakers? Sure.
I'll foreshadow the staff recommendation.
So I would like to insert a clause 3 after so that actual clause 3 goes after the and request. Clause C goes after and request, because it refers to it. Thank you. This is anticipating what Director Watkins just said, that there may be some concerns regarding this, and I think we, for our proper due process, need to be aware of that. And so this clause 1C asks that, and I'll make a slight change, it asks that the assessment of information referred to above be reported to council prior to any lodgement with the department, so that we can be aware of precise, I'll wait for a seconder.
Thank you. I will, before I get a seconder, ask if Councillor Hornshaw is happy to take that in.
Yeah, I'm happy to take that in.
Thank you. Councillor Kirkman, are you happy to take that in?
Yes, I'm happy.
Thank you. So we no longer require an amendment. Thank you, Councillor Entman. We do have a foreshadowed motion, which is a staff recommendation, which I will note. But is there any further speakers to the motion? Thank you,
I just
Councillor
have some
Edwards.
questions, Mr Mayor, please. First of all, just with respect to Councillor Hornshaw, is it possible that you could provide a printed copy when you do make a sort of lengthy amendment, just because sometimes it's not all able to be seen on the screen, and then when people go and add things to it, or like it's just hard to keep track. There's a change from the one that was in the paper. So that was a question for you. Mr Mayor, then I also would like to ask a question through the acting CEO of staff. Would we have been getting a report either way with the staff recommendation, or only now that this extra clause has been added?
Thank you, Mr Acting CEO.
Through Mr Mayor, Director Watkins.
Thank you, Acting CEO. You wouldn't have received a further report to council. It would have been a report or an assessment of those issues along the lines of the other items that we've assessed in the housekeeping paper that we've got before you. Because it would have been the subject of a pre-lodgement meeting with the department, it's not a formal amendment to the LEP at this stage. There are a number of other steps that have to be gone through, and including coming back to council for endorsement.
Thank you.
That's supplementary, Mr Mayor.
Sure.
I just wonder how, through you, Mr Mayor, through Acting CEO, how pressing this housekeeping amendment is. Just concerns about, are there any problems with the delays that might be caused by these amendments today?
Thank you, Mr Acting CEO.
Through Mr Mayor, Director Watkins.
Thank you, Acting CEO. Not specific issues. There are issues in the housekeeping LEP that we like to keep moving forward. That's the purpose of keeping the amendments that we include in housekeeping amendments simple, straightforward, that don't require further detailed assessment and consideration, to make sure they can move forward quickly. That's trying to be reactive to issues as they emerge. This will actually take some time to do this work, so it will delay, but there's nothing fatal in the existing amendments that we're proposing that need to be done urgently.
Thank you. So, any further speakers?
Yes, thank you.
Councillor Shepherd.
Speaking against having foreshadowed the staff amendment, I feel that the staff report addresses the matters quite reasonably in a way that's suitable for housekeeping related amendments, and the items that are in there I think are quite important to get moving with pace, and I'm satisfied with the staff as advice supporting the recommendation. My view is that the amendment and the changes to the distance and the sizes and whatnot constitute a more significant change that falls beyond the scope of this particular item as it's intended. In my view, I'm glad to see that if this motion goes through as it is, that there is a report that would come back to council first. But I think really we should just be proceeding with the staff recommendation as it is, and if it's desired to be treating that those suggested changes through more significant avenues.
Thank you, Councillor Shepherd. Any further speakers before I put the item? Councillor Edwards.
Yes, just briefly, Mr Mayor. Thought about this one a lot, and it it does strike me that, we had the resolution from March. Everybody supported that, I believe. Staff have responded to that. It has been considered in here, and the advice from the experts in planning have come back with a reasonable distance and a reasonable percentage to test, which is more likely to succeed in my view, and I would be more happy to just not be so prescriptive as to support these changes, which are not from staff and experts, and I think that I support the staff recommendations, so I can't support this one. Sorry, today, Councillor Hornshaw.
Thank you. If there's no further speakers, I will offer the right of reply to Councillor Hornshaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think with this, this is just something that our staff will be putting to the state government, and it'll be negotiated with their planning people. So it's not something that we can just prescribe and say we're doing this. We can't just ram it through. It is something just to put to the state. But I think the state government, the present government, would be supportive in principle of this sort of reform. They're looking to find ways to, find more housing for people. And this is a way that people are doing completely at their own cost and with no impact on other people. So I think that they would support that. But still, they can say no, or they can change it, or they can come back and they can negotiate it. And they can say, well, we can't give you that, but we can give you this. And still, so there's that. And there's also, the report, because of Councillor Inderman's amendment, will still come back to council. So this body will still be able to debate it again if we want to. And even once whatever is negotiated with the state will still come back to council and be put on public display before it's adopted for anyone in the community to comment on. So I think that there are many, many checks and balances that are already in place with this, that we may as well just go and have the conversation with the state government. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Hornshaw. With that, I put the item. All those in favour? Councillor Inderman, Hornshaw, Lipovac, Roberts, Maltman, Kirkman. Those against?
Against.
Councillor Shepherd, Councillor Edwards. I declare that carried 6 votes to 2 with Councillor Tubman out of the room. Thank you, councillors. We will just call Councillor Tubman back in. Okay, item 13, Lake Caddo Natural Resource Management Monthly Update Report. Do I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Maltman, seconded by Councillor Inderman. Councillor Maltman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I speak in support of this motion and note the progress of the Lake Caddo Natural Resource Management projects and initiatives within Lake Caddo, Lake Innes and Caddo Creek waterways, as well as the advancement of the coastal management plan. Since first being elected in 2021, I have advocated for escalation of the CMP for our community, and it's incredibly rewarding to see those efforts materialising in tangible outcomes for our community. A comparison of the May and June 2025 council agendas shows significant and measurable progress that's been made across nearly all projects. The finalisation of the coastal hazard assessment, delivery of the coastal vulnerability mapping provide crucial data to inform long-term planning. The securing of $196,667 in grant funding for stage 3 and 4 of the CMPs is a real testament to the staff, and well done. The rapid deployment of erosion protection measures, the major weed control operations, and the continued advancement of restoration works. This report reflects not only practical process but the growing momentum, and the work being done is meaningful, strategic and visible. And I thank council staff for their commitment to stewardship, environmental stewardship of the area, and for keeping the community informed. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Maltman. Councillor Inderman.
Congratulations also for the progress being made. Government has been described as slow boring. It can be, but that's the only way that we do make continuous improvement. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Inderman. Any further speakers? See and hear none. I put the item. All those in favour?
Aye.
None opposed. Declare that carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Item 13.14, Friends of Camden Head Lookout Pilot Station update. Anyone like to move staff recommendation? Councillor Lipovac, thank you. Seconded by somebody. Councillor Tubman, thank you. Councillor Lipovac.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. First of all, a question through you to the Acting CEO. Is Council aware of some images and information that has come through in the last 24 hours about an alleged breach of the work being undertaken there by allegedly a council contractor?
Thank you. Carefully through to the Acting CEO.
Through you, Mr Mayor, unless Director Watkins has some advice on that, we'll take it on notice. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Acting CEO. Yes, we are aware. The information was provided, luckily, by Councillor Tubman. To me direct, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Lipovac.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Despite that information that's come through in the last 24 hours, thank you for the update. If I can speak personally, in my opinion, I'm a little bit over the shenanigans, if I can use that word politely, of what has been occurring at this site for many months, despite the best efforts of council to provide guidance and to control the work that's required to be done, which was in fact a council resolution. In my opinion, the attitude of we know best and we'll do what we want of some community members outside of council guidelines is, in my opinion, reckless, arrogant and disrespectful. Whether that's on the ground, via social media or via emails directly to councillors, the actions of a few are completely unacceptable. In my opinion, councillors, if things don't improve with those claiming to be genuine friends of Camden Head Lookout, we should...
Mayor, point of order.
Point of order, Councillor Shepherd.
Is that clause 1511D in relation to imputing improper motives or making personal comments in relation to particular parties? In this case, I believe they're identifiable, having been identified as part of the group.
Thank you, Councillor Shepherd. I would uphold that. Councillor Lipovac, I would ask you just to be very cautious about your next comments, please.
I accept that. I would just like to relay my concerns about what is going on at this point in time, and perhaps down the track we look at starting from scratch in relation to this particular committee. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Lipovac. Any further speakers? Councillor Maltman.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, I speak in support of this item and commend the Friends of Camden Haven for their positive and proactive approach as they continue to take to their community stewardship. I'd like to acknowledge the recent correspondence to Council from the group's chair, Mr Blair Maxwell, which provided Council with an insightful update on the team's activities and achievements through April and May. It was particularly pleasing to read Mr Maxwell's words of appreciation to Council for supporting this community-led stewardship initiative, an initiative that is clearly enhancing public space, preserving heritage and environment, and delivering a shared vision that fosters local pride and encourages greater public involvement in shaping our place and values. As Mr Maxwell noted in his email, our work at preserving the heritage Camden Haven Head Graves is a great example of how this group is activating outcomes for the community. This is a fantastic reflection of what grassroots community action can achieve, and I commend the Friends of Camden Haven Lookout for the continued commitment and results at the site, and I don't support what was previously said in relation to this item from Councillor Lipovac.
Thank you. Any further speakers?
Yes, thank you. I'd like to convey that the email received from the chair of the Friends of Group, I was likewise really pleased to see in many regards, to a similar extent that I was incredibly appalled or even concerned to see the photos and have the images raised of the damage that is understood to have been done in the last week or so. I'm not in a position to be able to propose an amendment to address the concerns, but I am concerned about what will happen in the next 2 months. What changes will occur in that area that are perhaps not within the intention of the master plan, and so I will be voting against this item, that's not to be taken as an offence, and it's not intended as an offence to the Friends of Camden Head Lookout Volunteer Group or the staff who are working in this area, but more a statement of my concern, and something that I'll be certainly seeking to have discussions with staff to understand how things are moving forward also.
Thank you, Councillor Shepherd. Councillor Edwards. I'm happy to go to Councillor Intiman.
Thank you. Question through you to the Acting CEO as to how will councillors be advised of the outcome of the current investigation?
Thank you, Mr Acting CEO.
Through you, Mr Mayor, Director Watkins might do update there.
Thank you, Acting CEO. As is our normal practice, we don't provide updates to any third parties on ongoing investigations, but once the matter is resolved or there is an outcome, I'm more than happy to advise Council of what the outcome is.
Thank you, Director Watkins. Councillor Intiman.
I fail to see how we're a third party here. This is directly our responsibility and our purview, and so it would seem important that councillors be advised. Okay, I'm hearing that we'll hear about the outcome, but we need to know what's going on down there, and so I would like to ask again: how will councillors be advised so that we can be clear? How are councillors going to be advised of the outcome of this investigation?
Thank you, Mr Acting CEO.
Through you, Mr Mayor, I suspect Director Watkins' comments relate to this being a compliance and having legal implications, so that would be the reason for the advice at the end of that investigation.
Thank you. Councillor Intiman.
And I'm sorry, there's going to be a number of questions here, because one of the allegations is that council contractors have done something wrong. We definitely need to know about this.
So, thank you for the question, Councillor Intiman. The subject matter has been addressed several times by staff. Also, I don't think this is a forum to be delving too deeply into this particular matter because it is a compliance matter. And obviously mentioning who may or may not be involved is not overly helpful to any investigation as well. So on that basis, I would ask that questions be less specific, but also if we could respectfully take on notice the questions and answers that we've already been received. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll speak to this item and say that it is very disappointing if councillors, this is our responsibility to know what is going on here, and so therefore I will be pursuing this further. So I just want to follow on from what has been said by various parties. I'm not going to name anybody, but to say that it is gravely disappointing that there is so much division going on down there from various whoever are the parties. You know what you've done, good or constructive or destructive, and anybody who is behaving in a destructive manner should be ashamed of what they are doing. And there is so much of a loss of trust coming here that I really feel, similarly to what Councillor Lipovac has said, that I feel like we just need to wash our hands of this and start again if there is not improvement going forward quite rapidly. Some people seem to be holding up the process. Some people, who knows who, seem to be engaging in destructive behaviour that council simply doesn't have it in their purview to be able to chase up and find out what is going on. But this is a loss of trust. I made a comment before when we had the local government prayer about how we should be grateful for what we have got here, but unfortunately some of the behaviour that is happening down there is not anything demonstrating gratefulness for the community that we've got, nor indeed for demonstrating constructive behaviour in the management of public lands. I am right on the edge of feeling like we just don't go ahead with this anymore because of what's happening from various parties. No names given. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Inchman. Councillor Tubman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A question through you to the acting CEO. Is there any indication of when the investigation might be completed and that would come back to council? Is there any ETA for that?
Thank you, Mr. Acting CEO.
Through Mr. Mayor, Director Watkins.
Thank you, Acting CEO. The latest allegation has only just been provided to me. I'm talking days, which was the email, Councillor Tubman, that you provided to me. I'm seeking advice from staff at this very moment to see where we're up to. The past investigations have been ongoing with past activities and allegations, but they, as I've indicated to councillors previously, there are limits to what council's powers are in enforcing any actions on activities that we may or may not have evidence about.
Thank you. Councillor Edwards.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And a question on the back of that through you, Acting CEO. In light of this report and this suggestion that the master plan again is not being followed, has council will council pause works? Will the works, the activities, be paused at this stage?
Thank you, Mr. Acting CEO.
Yeah, through Mr. Mayor. There's a number of questions getting raised about an activity that we've only just become aware of. Can I just suggest provide us time to understand what's occurred, and then we can obviously look at where we go to it with the matter from there.
Thank you, councillors. I will also make a call that I won't take any more questions on the compliance or the investigation. We have had multiple questions of staff without notice, and it is an ongoing investigation. So if there's any other further questions outside of that, happy to look at that. Thank you, Councillor Inchman.
Move an amendment.
Moving an amendment.
Thank you. A clause 2, same as clause 1. Clause 2, that this matter be reported to the July meeting also. I'm not specifying anything. We've got this coming forward on 2 monthly basis, but I think bearing in mind what's going on, or what seems to be going on, who knows from where? I don't know, but we've got to get on top of it, and so that would be, so that, sorry Tanya, if you could go, that Council 1 note and 2 receive a report on this matter to the July 2025 Ordinary Council meeting.
Thank you. Whilst we are typesetting, I will ask Councillor Lipovac and Tubman if they're happy to take that in.
So that, sorry Tanya, that would be then, yeah, report this matter to the question, Mr. Mayor, through the CEO, do we need to note, because I don't want any interruption to the bi-monthly reporting on this?
I mean, I could answer that for you, unless you stipulate the regular reporting would just occur.
So perhaps report this matter to the July, in addition, so if we add to this same sentence, in addition to normal bi-monthly reporting.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Okay, so...
sorry, Mr. Mayor, can we just put normal in the regular bi-monthly reporting, in addition to the regular bi-monthly reporting?
Sure. All right, so I'll just get a clarification of the Acting CEO.
Yeah, through Mr. Mayor, just Councillor Inchman, I'd just like to clarify that the report you're seeking is broadly related to Camden Head's rather than specifically the compliance matter.
So
a broad report on the matter, similar to what you've received this month.
Correct, but it just gives us an inflection point whereby if something has come up in the meantime, we can do something about it. Thank you. If that's acceptable.
Okay, so the question again to Councillor Lipovac and Councillor Tubman. Councillor Lipovac, you happy to take that in?
No offence to Councillor Inderman, I don't think it's necessary. I'm happy to wait for the bi-monthly report. I would assume that if there's something that needs to be passed on to councillors, it would be done so anyway in the regular fashion.
Okay, thank you. So I will take this as an amendment moved by Councillor Inderman and seek a seconder, which would be Councillor Edwards. Thank you.
Question through you, Mr Mayor, to Councillor Inderman. The wording of Clause 2, I wonder if what you're seeking is a report specifically about whether the works are in keeping with the master plan to the next meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Inderman.
I can't say that, and I understand what Councillor Lipovac has said, but we have just been told that we will probably not be told what the outcome is, which means we need to keep our finger on this pulse. And no, Councillor Edwards, I'm not suggesting that because, again, we've been told that maybe we can't be told.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we keep our finger on the pulse except by having something come to us?
Okay, so I'll take that as a comment, rhetorical question potentially. All right, any further speakers to the amendment?
Yes, I'll just quick.
Yes.
Oh,
Thank you. Either one, Councillor Shepherd?
Sure. I do think this is preferable to the original, but I don't see that the information we're seeking would end up coming to the July meeting, either through timing or through what's able to be put in the papers. Yes.
So was that speaking in support or opposition, please, Councillor Shepherd?
Against.
Thank you. Councillor Edwards?
yes, so this is still unfolding, but I just wanted to say that this continues to be such a source of contention. We have a compromised plan for a good reason, the master plan, and it must be followed carefully, whoever's working on that. So I don't know how we move forward at the moment. I still have the question about will works continue, even though there's this this suggestion and this evidence that, you know, going further than the boundaries in the master plan and removing stumps that were meant to stabilise for erosion. I don't understand if works are going to continue or pause so that we can determine that they are in keeping with our plan, our resolved plan. So I'm still trying to decide what I will do on this item right now.
Thank you. I just have a point of clarification through the Acting CEO. Mr Acting CEO.
Yeah, through Mr Mayor, I'd probably just like to reiterate my previous comment that we have just only just become, in recent days, aware of this matter. Until we can properly get across it, we can't really advise on it, but once we do have an outcome, we would advise you, obviously, on that. But until such time as we get to that point, it's difficult to give you anything further today, unfortunately.
Thank you. Okay, so we have an amendment in front of us. We've had a couple of speakers. If there's no further speakers, I will put the amendment. Councillor Inderman? Not further speaking, just supporting it. Okay, I'll go there. So all those in favour of the amendment? Councillor Inderman? Councillor Edwards? Those opposed? Councillor Hornshaw, Lipovac, Roberts, Shepherd, Maltman, Kirkman, Tubman. The amendment is lost, so we return to, sorry, that's 7 votes to 2. 7 votes, it's 2 votes in favour, 7 votes against. We return to the original motion, which is on the screen, that council note the update on current activities of Friends of Camden, etc. Before it disappeared. Any further speakers on the original motion? See and hear none. Any right of reply? No, thank you. Okay, I put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Has vacated the room. So I just called a vote. So all those in favour? Councillor Hornshaw, Roberts, Maltman, Kirkman, Tubman. Those opposed? Councillor Interman, Lipovac. Shepherd. Councillor Shepherd?
I'm sorry. No, opposed, sorry.
Opposed, thank you. All right, so the item is in the affirmative, 5 votes to 3 with Councillor Edwards out of the room. Thank you. I declare that carried. All right, item 13.15, notice of motion, sports field drainage, which is mine.
Question, Mr Mayor. On this matter, there was some discussion between yourself and Councillor Shepherd regarding this, so I'm wondering if we can perhaps kind of clarify where we're up to with that. Especially bearing in mind Councillor Shepherd is not necessarily in the room.
Yeah, absolutely. Just for the procedure, a number of councillors and I have discussed a potential amendment that may come off the back of this, in which case that may be seen as something that might need to be discussed in confidential. So I am happy to move my original motion as seen in the report here, talk to that. If there's an amendment following that, a determination will need to be made as to whether that's debated in the public forum or a procedural motion needs to be put to have that dealt with in confidential. Thank you. Thank you. So I'm happy to move that Council note the correspondence received from the local member for Port Macquarie, Mr Robert Dwyer MP, regarding the Tuffins Lane Sporting Precinct. 2, continue to engage with Mr Robert Dwyer MP on grant funding opportunities to progress the environmental impact statement required to progress the Tuffins Lane Sports Fields drainage improvements. And 3, initiate a focused review on sports fields drainage across the local government area as part of the annual review of the Recreational Open Space Action Plan. My comments as per the agenda. In December, a seconder please, Councillor Maltman, I think you had your hand up. Thank you. In December 2022, Council resolved to purchase land associated with the Tuffins Lane Sports Precinct from the trustees of the Roman Catholic Church, with settlement completed in January 2023. At that time, Council also resolved to commence the process to classify the land as operational, and this was formalised at the February 2023 Council meeting. In June 2023, Council approved a budget allocation of $200,000 in the 2023-24 operational plan to undertake detailed design of drainage in the Tuffins Lane Sporting Precinct. An engineering firm was engaged to provide a staged response to developing a detailed drainage and design in 4 stages. Stages 1 and 2 were completed in June 2024, with stages 3 and 4 now complete. A number of reports have been provided to Council on the drainage investigations, with the last report to the ordinary Council meeting of April 2025, which was item 1105, Tuffins Lane Field Drainage Investigation. The Council resolved then to 1, note the information contained in the report, 2, consider including funding for the detailed environmental assessment, and DA to the value of $500,000 in a future operational plan and budget for the long-term financial plan. 3, write to the local member for Port Macquarie, Mr Rob Dwyer, to request assistance with funding support for this project. In accordance with Resolution 3 above, Council wrote to the local member for Port Macquarie, and a copy of the letter is attached for information. Attachment 1. The local member has responded personally regarding the Tuffins Lane field drainage investigation, offering his support to help progress the project. A copy of the letter is provided for information, which is in attachment 2. Over the past 3 years, our council has been on an ambitious target to prioritise investment in our sporting fields and infrastructure in order to plan for the ongoing growth of recreational sport, such as touch football in our region. We rely on sporting events at the regional stadium and the Tuffins Lane Sporting Precinct, along with our strong and prosperous sporting economy, to keep our region thriving. In acquiring the land at Tuffins Lane, we have an important asset to provide year-round community sport for the purposes of bringing sporting events like Touch Football State Cup to the region. Sporting events like the State Cup allow us to strengthen our relationships with key sporting stakeholders such as New South Wales Touch and ensure a healthy and sustainable partnership with our tourism operators, such as our visitor accommodation operators and hospitality outlets who reap the benefits of this sporting event. If we don't invest into sporting infrastructure upgrades such as drainage, we have the potential economic and tourism activity loss if we lose major events. On the other hand, if we invest in our sporting infrastructure, we have the opportunity to bid and attract more events to our area. The review of the Recreational Open Space Action Plan review is imminent, and as part of this review, it is suggested through this motion there could be a focused discussion with sporting groups, specifically around the drainage issues at our sports fields, to highlight the critical areas of infrastructure upgrade support needed. Placing the drainage at the core of Council's sporting facilities could go some way to ensuring sporting organisations and players can get back to playing as soon as possible after a weather event, which has many social, economic and health benefits. Thank you. Any further speakers? Councillor Maltman, thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and I support this motion, happily seconded actually. At times this council has appeared divided on the strategic direction for Tuffins Lane. But let me be clear, I'm solid in my support for progressing the necessary environmental impact statement to ensure drainage improvements at the Tuffins Lane sports fields. As highlighted in this motion, securing funding through grant opportunities is essential to move this project forward, and I fully support continued engagement with our local member, Mr Robert Dwyer MP, member for Port Macquarie, and I'm happy and I'm confident that that Mr Dwyer, our MP for Port Macquarie, will work with us to deliver the state support. Just as I stood in 2022 to support Council's purchase of the Tuffins Lane sporting fields from St Agnes Catholic Parish, returning Tuffins Lane back to the community as a public asset, I remain firmly committed to ensuring Tuffins Lane receives the investment that it deserves. This is a strategic investment in the future of sport in the Port Macquarie Hastings region. Likewise, I welcome and support the proposed review of the sports fields drainage across the broader local government area, LGA, as part of our annual review of the Recreational Open Space Action Plan. Our community deserves a resilient, well-maintained sporting infrastructure, and this motion is a step in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Maltman. Any further speakers? Councillor Lipovac.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So in relation to this particular item, yes, in support, but just to note that while we are engaging with local member Robert Dwyer, can we also continue to engage and pursue federal member Pat Conahan, who pledged and it's a big if the Coalition were returned to government, that they would contribute to bringing the Tuffins Lane playing fields up to scratch with a $2 million funding injection into drainage improvements specifically. Both members need to continue to be proactive on this issue, despite their parties not currently in power at state and federal level, and I'm sure they'll do their best to extract funding with submissions to their respective finance ministers in future budgets. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Lipovac. Councillor Edwards.
Yes, question, Mr Mayor. Just on clause 2, wondered if that means that, in actual fact, our MP, Mr Robert Dwyer, is going to search out appropriate grant funding and report that to Council? Is that what the intent is?
I'm happy to answer that. In conversations that I've had with Mr Dwyer, he was intending on seeking out the appropriate ministers or state government departments as required to seek funding support for this. I can't speak for him, but having had a conversation, that would be the intent, to continue the conversation with us if it's successful, but also there's an opportunity for us to check back in the not too distant future as to how he's gone with that, which I would intend to do. Thank you.
Mr Mayor.
Councillor Shepherd.
Thank you. I'd like to speak against briefly and then move an amendment to address some of the concerns that I have.
Sure.
Firstly, so in my comment speaking against, I'd like to be clear that I actually support clause 3, being the focused review of sports field drainage. I think such a strategic and focused review is really important because that's how we ensure that, in fact, our funds are going towards the highest priority and what's going to deliver the highest value for our community. And that's where my support for this motion stops, because what we're saying is really concerted advocacy for a particular area of drainage or a particular field to receive drainage allocations that we know to be a floodplain, amongst a range of other quite significant limitations and barriers to the usage, and also limitations to the likelihood it will ultimately be delivered. So with that, I'd like to propose an amendment, and following proposing that amendment, I will move a motion, procedural motion, that we move into confidential session so that we can address the matters therein. The amendment that I would like to move, I have lodged with Tanya, with governance. Sorry, if that could be brought on the screen.
Sure. Is that the amendment you're proposing, Councillor Shepherd?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. No, sorry. That's not the amendment I lodged.
Okay, it does have a point 4, which is now on the screen.
Thank you.
So this is the one, Councillor Shepherd?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, and you'd like to move a procedural motion that this amendment be debated in confidential session?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
I'm happy to second that. Any councillors wishing to...
Point of order, Mr. Mayor.
Sure.
Sorry, do I need a seconder for my initial amendment before we then move to the procedural motion?
Yes, I was happy to do that as well. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Good point. So we have a procedural motion, councillors, that given the nature of the amendment, I have provided advice already to councillors that given we're talking about a report that is currently confidential, enable for us to debate and discuss that properly. There may be some for and against arguments. It was a suggestion of mine that this be done in confidential so we can speak freely on that item in determining whether it should be made public. So on that basis, I'm happy to support the procedural motion to move into confidential. Does anyone have any particular issue with that? I don't see any. So with that, I put that procedural motion to the vote. All those in favour?
Aye.
We've got councillors Interman, Hornshaw, Lipovac, Roberts, Kirkman, Tubman, Edwards and Shepherd in support. Those against, Councillor Maltman. Declare that carried. So we will now move into confidential session.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm wondering procedurally, through you, now that this has been referred to confidential session, if in fact we can also refer the other matters intended to go to confidential session, if we might go into confidential session to consider all the confidential matters, noting that this is the last matter on our agenda.
And that is a reasonable point, thank you. That would be more efficient. However, there is another option which I was thinking, just for everyone's information, that we could debate this item, come back, discuss further the item. However, I think it's more efficient to do it the way you've suggested. So on that basis, I'm happy to take a recommendation that we now move into confidential session to discuss all the matters noted in the confidential matters, being items 1601 and 1602. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Lipovac, thank you. All those in favour? All those in favour? Councillor Shepherd?
Mr. Mayor, point of order, do we also need to include the 1315 in there now?
Well, we just resolved that, so it's already been noted. Thank you. So I take that as unanimous. So we now move into confidential session. Thank you. The recording will stop and we will resume straight after. Thank you. Thank you. I will take a procedural motion to close the meeting to the public. Thank you. Moved Councillor Edwards, seconded myself. All those in favour?
Aye.
Thank you. Declare that carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. All right, now we will move into session. unanimous. Thank you. It's called a hot mic. Okay, so I welcome back any members of the public who have returned to the chambers or rejoining via the live streaming of the meeting. We will now go to the outcomes of closed session. Through you, Mr. Acting CEO, I now ask the Group Manager Governance read the meeting outcomes of the items in the closed session of the council meetings, items 1601, 1602 and 1315 from memory. Thank you, Mr. Ferguson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. With regard to item 1315, notice of motion sports field drainage, Council resolved, 1, that Council note the correspondence received from local member for Port Macquarie, Mr Robert Dwyer MP, regarding the Tuffins Lane Sporting Precinct. 2, that Council, after a review conducted by Council's legal counsel, removed the confidential restrictions previously resolved for item 16.02, potential purchase of land in Tuffins Lane, Port Macquarie, at the October 2022 Ordinary Council meeting, ensuring redaction of any confidential information in accordance with Section 10A2 of the Local Government Act 1993. 3, that Council provide a copy of the reviewed report, being item 16.02, potential purchase of land in Tuffins Lane, Port Macquarie, at the October 2022 Ordinary Council meeting, to state members for Port Macquarie and Oxley, federal members for Lyne and Cowper, and place a copy of the report on Council's website for public access prior to any further advocacy for funding in relation to Tuffins Lane. And 4, initiate a focused review of sports field drainage across the local government area as part of the annual review of the Recreational Open Space Action Plan. That item was carried unanimously. With regard to item 16.01, land acquisition, 84 Bain Street, Wauchope, Council resolved, 1, that Council note the information contained within the report, which provides details on the acquisition and settlement of the land. 2, that Council, pursuant to Section 59 of the Lands Acquisition Just Terms Compensation Act 1991, pay the property owners conveyancing costs. And 3, that Council, pursuant to Section 10 of the Roads Act 1993, dedicate the land as identified in this report as public road. That item was also carried unanimously. With regard to item 16.02, review into the effectiveness of the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee, Council resolved, 1, that Council note the information contained within the review of the effectiveness of the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee. 2, that Council request that the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee consider the findings within the review and include the actions listed in the Internal Audit Actions Register for implementation. And 3, maintain the confidentiality of the documents and consideration in respect of this item. That item was also carried unanimously. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Ferguson. That now concludes the business on today's agenda. Thank you to those who have attended in person or via live stream on today's council meeting. I now declare the meeting closed at 5:35 p.m.